Chapter 4408. How could Xiao Huan not know what Bei Xian was thinking? He smiled and said, "This condition is too good for you, Senior. How about this? I have a condition that I hope Senior and the three great saints will agree to." The rock was surprised. He tilted his head and looked at Bei Xian before asking Xiao Hua, "What is Daoist Zhao's condition?" "I want Little White to be the Dragon King of the West Sea." Xiao Hua said word by word. "Impossible." The flying feather space beast shouted, "Not to mention the North Sea Dragon King Ao Hong. Even if Ao Qian died, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is still the ruler of the West Sea. Even without the palace, there is still the Dragon Island. Even the second great saint of the demon race, the black-armored Pentaceratops, doesn't dare to say that he can be the ruler of the West Sea. How can we agree to this?" "What you can't do, I can do it. The black-armored Pentaceratops can't be the ruler of the West Sea, but Little White can. I want Little White to be the ruler of the West Sea." Xiao Hua lightly said, "I want you to agree that if one day Little White wants to be the ruler of the West Sea, you can only agree and not oppose." The rock, flying feather space beast, and the five-colored sea god shell looked at each other. They then cautiously looked at Bei Xian, but unfortunately, they couldn't see anything from her face. After a while, the rock smiled and said, "The ruler of the West Sea is not something we can decide. Since Daoist Xiao has such an intention, I will naturally do my best to help you accomplish it. It can also be considered as compensation for Xiao Bai." "Yes, I also agree." The flying feather space beast also agreed. Only the five-colored sea god shell didn't say anything. Of course, it was not that he didn't want to agree, but because Bei Xian was behind him, he didn't dare to make a decision on his own. "Daoist Zhao's thoughts are also my thoughts." Bei Xian finally revealed a smile. "However, I still hope that Bai Bo can be the Empress of the West Sea Dragon Palace." This is Little White's matter. I can't agree on his behalf." Xiao Hua replied with a smile, "There are 7 great sages in the 1,000 Devils Sacred Realm. Now, there are 4 great sages here, and with this Xiao, the Dragon Master of the Dragon Island, this Xiao doesn't believe that the Dragon Emperor of the West Sea Dragon Palace can't change hands." Bei Xian smiled bitterly. Looking at Jade Wave's cute and lovable appearance, Bei Xian understood that even if Little White Dragon kicked her away, she would still crawl back to Little White Dragon's side. Needless to say, if Little White Dragon became the Dragon King of the West Sea Dragon Palace, if Jade Wave did not establish his might, how could he expect Jade Wave to cause trouble with Little White Dragon? However, Bei Xian also understood that as a Little White Dragon of the Dragon Clan, it was naturally attractive to the females of the Demon Clan. It was only because he had suppressed him in the Heavenly Dam Water Prison for 200 years that Jade Wave had the chance to pester Little White Dragon. Otherwise, who knew how many wives and concubines Little White Dragon would have had in these 200 years? However, Bei Xian had no other choice. Because of her mistake, because of the divine punishment, only Jade Wave and the child in her womb were left of the sea god's bloodline. Moreover, if Jade Wave became the queen of the West Sea Dragon Palace, it would be extremely beneficial to the Shell clan's reproduction in the Four Seas. Therefore, she gave an extremely rare smile. Looking at Little White Dragon, she asked, "Xiao Bai, if you agree to my conditions, I will definitely do my best to make you the master of the West Sea." "For you." Little White Dragon naturally had eyes but could not see. He glanced at Bei Xian and asked disdainfully, "I'm not human." Bei Xian smiled and said, "I'm from the Shell clan, and also, the great saint of the Demon clan, the ancestor of the 5-colored sea god Shell. Similarly, the other great saints also call me ancestor. Also, it was my idea to capture you and imprison you here." "You should." Little White was about to fly into a rage when Jade Wave, who was beside him, hurriedly hugged his arm and said anxiously, "Darling Xiao." Bei Xian ignored Little White's anger and said again, "Spiritual Master Xiao also said that this is your compensation. Moreover, I also agreed that as long as you are willing, you can do whatever you want in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm." "He's so good." Little White Dragon pinched his chin and looked at Bei Xian with a lustful gaze. Just as he was about to speak, Xiaohua frowned and transmitted his voice. Little White Dragon, don't be rash. Little White Dragon could ignore Bei Xian'er's temptation, but he could not ignore Xiaohua's reprimand. His heart trembled and he drooled. He said in all seriousness, Ancestor, you are thinking too much. Previously, this junior hated Bai Qingyu to the bone, and wished that I could eat the flesh of those 3 demon kings and drink their blood. However, since my wife has taken care of me, what more can this junior ask for? Perhaps the reason why Ancestor captured this junior to Bai Qingyu was to fulfill this junior's fate with my wife. This junior can't thank senior enough. As he spoke, Little White Dragon tidied his clothes and bowed to Bei Xian, saying, Junior Xiaobai greets Ancestor. Damn it. Xiaohua saw how Little White Dragon acted with ease and couldn't help but laugh inwardly. This Little White Dragon is really something. No matter if it is young grass or old shells, they all like his glib tongue. Although Bei Xian'er's sea god bloodline had been stolen, she hadn't lost much of her abilities. Moreover, she was the ancestor of the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. As a descendant of the Red Sea Domain's royal family, how could she not have some means to control the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm? Now that she likes Little White Dragon and is thinking about her lost bloodline, the chances of Little White Dragon sitting on the dragon throne of the West Sea Dragon Palace increased by 30%. Little White Dragon has the fire dragon soul of the West Sea Dragon Palace and can control the dragon throne of the West Sea. This is 20%. I am the dragon master of the Dragon Island, and I can be said to be famous in the 4 seas. I should be able to fight against 20%. This gives me a 70% chance. As for the remaining 30%, the Dragon Palace of the 3 seas will take 10%, and the Immortal Palace will take 20%. Hee. It seems like it is only a matter of time before Little White Dragon sits on the dragon throne of the West Sea Dragon Palace. Good. Bei Xian said good 3 times in a row. She waved her hand and said, Good child, come over and stand beside me. When this matter is over, you can go with old Ancestor. Your strength is much weaker than Ao Hong's. After I help you increase your strength, you can rightfully become the master of the West Sea Dragon Palace. Many thanks, old Ancestor. Little White Dragon stood up with a smile but did not go to Bei Xian'er's side. He said, Junior and Big Brother have not seen each other for hundreds of years. Junior will be following old Ancestor in the future. It is better for me to get closer to Big Brother first. Although we are not blood-related, we have lived and died together. It is better than being blood-related. Little White Dragon naturally did not know about the matter between Bei Xian and Bei Ming. However, his words immediately touched Bei Xian'er's heart. Bei Xian'er's tears immediately gushed out. She said repeatedly, Good child, good child. I am relieved that Bibbo can find such a loving husband like you. Damn it, what is this? The flying feather and eye void beast at the side rolled his eyes. Little White Dragon was lustful by nature. Where was the shadow of a loving husband? However, he had never seen Bei Xian so fond of any demon in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. Even the 5-colored sea god shell was not good. After Little White Dragon finished speaking, Xiaohua glanced at the golden-winged great pring bird and the 5-colored sea god shell. He waved his hand and threw Bai Qingyu's Demon King Bai Qing, Shrouding Sky Ridge's Demon King Pring Jun, and Ancient Bell Mountain's Demon King Enai Quan out of Shenhua continent. The 3 demon kings landed in midair and looked around. They immediately pounced in front of Bei Xian'er and shouted, Old Ancestor, you have to make the decision for us. Bei Xian'er's face was full of smiles, but when she saw the 3 demon kings, her face turned cold again. She didn't even say a word and just looked at them coldly. Old Ancestor. Bai Qing still couldn't see the situation clearly. Although Enai Quan had never seen Bei Xian, he had heard a lot from Bai Qing. Now he saw Bei Xian'er's unkind expression and then looked at Xiaohua and the other clones who were more arrogant than the 3 great sages. Little White Dragon was even more arrogant. How could he not know what to do? There was no need for the flying feather and eye void beast to give him a signal. He turned around without hesitation and pounced in front of Xiaohua. He kowtowed and shouted, Spiritual Master Xiao, this is all my fault. I was blinded by greed. I wanted to take Senior's strength in the hidden immortal continent under my command. This is completely my greed. I am willing to atone for my sins. As long as Senior can spare my life, I am willing to agree to anything. After speaking, Ni Quan fell in the air and didn't say another word. Ni Quan naturally understood better than Bai Qing and Peng Jun. He was just using Xiaohua's reputation to attract human cultivators. He wanted to use Shui Mingzi's hand to establish his own force in the hidden immortal continent. Compared to Bai Qing and Peng Jun, his crime was the lightest. Moreover, everything was achieved with the help of Shui Mingzi and other human cultivators. He himself didn't have any direct fault. He could even push everything to Shui Mingzi. However, this was also Ni Quan's cleverness. He already understood that Xiaohua knew everything, so he took the initiative to take the blame. Even if Xiaohua didn't think highly of him, at least he wouldn't blame everything on him. Looking at Peng Jun of the sky-concealing ridge, he obviously didn't have Ni Quan's servility. Although Peng Jun already understood when Ni Quan turned around, he still hesitated and looked at the expression of the golden-winged rock. How could the golden-winged rock give him any hint? After Ni Quan finished speaking, Peng Jun also turned his head and bowed. Junior knows he was wrong. Please punish me. Old ancestor? Only now did Bai Qing wake up and look at Bai Xian. But his eyes were still full of confusion. He really didn't understand. How could the old ancestor, who was more powerful than the 6 great saints of the demon clan, be defeated by Xiaohua of the human clan? However, when his gaze fell on the 5-colored seashell beside Bai Xian, he saw that the 5-colored seashell had lost its 5-colored brilliance. He sucked in a breath of cold air. As a demon king, he naturally had a decision. He turned his head without hesitation. When he was about to kneel, his gaze swept over Bai Qing, who was snuggling up to the little white dragon. Bai Qing was stunned at first. He didn't think of anything, but he didn't dare to neglect. He knelt in front of Xiaohua and whispered, "Junior was blinded by greed. I actually dared to suppress Senior." Chapter 4409. At this point, Bai Qing suddenly stopped, as if he had realized something. He lifted his body slightly, as if he wanted to look in Bai Bo's direction. However, he only lifted his body for a moment before stopping again. With this lift and stop, Bai Qing's thoughts were clear, and he figured out the cause of this matter. At this moment, his heart was more assured than Ni Quan and Peng Jun. With Bai Bo by Little White Dragon's side, how could his life be in danger? Senior, this is all Junior's fault. Bai Qing didn't dare to mention Bai Xian, and only poured dirty water on himself. I shouldn't have tortured Senior's substitute. Moreover, Junior shouldn't have. Bai Qing really didn't know how to defame himself. After all, he was doing things for Bai Xian, and he really didn't have any plans of his own. Junior's father deserves to die. Bai Bo naturally knew her father's character. Seeing her father like this, and thinking about Bai Xian's words, Bai Bo knew what Xiaohua needed. She hurriedly flew over and knelt in the air. Although her abdomen wasn't particularly swollen, she still deliberately slowed down her movements, appearing very careful and clumsy. She said pitifully, "Even if he has something to ask Daoist, he can't suppress Daoist's substitute and suffer the pain of being refined by the fire pillar every day. This crime is already deserving of death. He shouldn't have flaunted in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm, or even the hidden immortal continent to tarnish Daoist's name. This is even more deserving of death, especially for the sake of Daoist, who knows how many humans and demons have lost their lives. Although my Bai Qingyu's demons have all died in this battle, but my Bai Qingyu's demons deserve to die." And Xiaohua's face was as heavy as water, and he didn't say much. He had already killed nearly 1,000,000 demons, and wiped out Bai Qingyu. At this moment, he also had the intention to kill Demon King Bai Qing, but, for Bai Qing's sake, he couldn't really kill her. Moreover, it seemed like this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. Bai Bo begged again, "But Junior also knows that my father isn't a human, and his thoughts aren't as sharp as a human's. Many things can only be understood after the fact. When he was in Bai Qingyu demon realm, he was influenced by the other demons. Even the matters in the heavenly dam water prison were all handled by the juniors. Junior knew that father was in the wrong, so when senior was being interrogated under the heavenly dam water prison fire pillar, junior was very lenient and wanted to make up for father's mistake. I hope senior can spare my father's life on account of this junior serving senior's substitute for over 100 years. This junior is willing to agree on behalf of my father and offer the Bai Qingyu demon realm to senior as an apology. Damn it. Hearing Jade Wave's words, Enai Quan involuntarily cursed in his heart. This little seashell, although he didn't mention a name, his words were all hinting at this king. Especially this Bai Qingyu. The demons were all killed by the humans, and the terrain of this place changed drastically. It must have been a battle between the great sages of my race and the humans. Bai Qingyu must have been trampled to the point of no return. She naturally didn't feel any burden by offering Bai Qingyu to the humans. But what about my ancient Bell Mountain? That's my painstaking effort for who knows how many years. However, it was only an instant before Enai Quan's thoughts changed rapidly. He thought to himself, Jade Wave dared to offer Bai Qingyu to the humans, so why wouldn't I? My ancient Bell Mountain is surrounded by ferocious demon kings, and they are even more dangerous than Bai Qingyu. Even if the humans occupy the ancient Bell Mountain, they might not be able to defend it. Damn it, my life is more important now. Besides, now that the human army isn't here, they must have gone to attack the ancient Bell Mountain and concealed Sky Ridge. How can my ancient Bell Mountain be a match for those ferocious human armies? Thinking of this, Enai Quan cried out, unwilling to fall behind, that's right. This junior also has the same thoughts. This junior's sins are truly too grave. This junior is willing to offer the ancient Bell Mountain to senior to atone for my sins. The moment Enai Quan spoke, Peng Jun's nose was about to become crooked from anger. His originally bent body couldn't help but straighten up. This was truly bullying a demon. He was merely interrogating a 5th-grade essence energy human, and when he was interrogating, he didn't even dare to speak loudly for fear of scaring this human until he lost his memories. He had tormented himself for several hundred years, and not only did he not get anything out of him, it was all for naught. Instead, he had to hand over his tens of thousands of years of foundation to the humans. How could he accept this? Besides, behind him was the demon race's #1 great sage. If he relented, where would the golden-winged great rock's face be? Looking at Xiaohua again, he really laughed out loud. The more he looked at Jade Wave, the more he liked her. She was truly a tactful little lass. Xiaohua actually didn't think too much. He just wanted to squeeze out some benefits from the 3 demon kings, or perhaps from the 3 demon race great sages. But this little lass was great. Not only did she serve little white dragon well and repay him with her body, she even handed over her ancestral inheritance to him. This made him, who originally wanted to be ruthless to the 3 great demon kings, how could he bear to do it? However, looking at Peng Jun's appearance, Xiaohua smiled slightly and asked, "You are the demon king of concealed Sky Ridge, right? Why, you look a little unconvinced." Junior is Peng Jun. Facing Xiaohua, a human Grand Ascension stage expert, even though Peng Jun felt wronged, he still had respect for the strong. He straightened his body and bowed slightly, saying respectfully, "Junior feels that Junior was wrong. Senior, please punish me." However, Junior didn't know it all. He was Senior's substitute, and Junior is the demon king of concealed Sky Ridge. If I want to do something, I don't dare to have too many misgivings. If Senior's punishment is too heavy, Junior feels? Xiaohua's face turned cold, and Peng Jun immediately felt his entire body turn cold. A wave of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. Xiaohua's voice once again appeared in his ears, and even in his heart, although the one you suppressed was Xiao Bai. But the one you really wanted to suppress was me. Think about it, if we humans suppressed your race's great sage, how would you react? Xiao Bai is like me. Suppressing Xiao Bai is suppressing me. If I don't wash away my humiliation with blood, how can I get rid of it? But, Peng Jun knew what Xiaohua said was true, but he felt that he was really wronged. Xiaohua glanced at the golden-winged rock, feeling a little puzzled. Because of the three Demon Kings' intentions, apart from Peng Jun's, he already knew the other two Demon Kings' intentions. Moreover, Xiaohua also understood that the three Demon Kings must have other backers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to make a move on Dragon Island's Dragon Master. But from the Golden Winged Rock's reaction, this demon race's first great sage didn't seem to know at all. Sage Ping. Thinking of this, Xiaohua simply ignored Peng Jun, looking at the Golden Winged Rock, and asked indifferently, "Do you know about this?" The Golden Winged Rock raised his brows, his eyes flashing with golden light, and replied disdainfully, "This sage doesn't know about this. If it was this sage's intention, how could this sage let Concealed Sky Ridge take the blame? If it were Ni Quan, he would definitely accept the Golden Winged Rock's words and take the blame himself. But Peng Jun was different. He looked at the Golden Winged Rock in surprise, and asked curiously, Is this not Sage Peng's intention? Damn it, of course this sage doesn't know. The Golden Winged Rock scolded, "This sage doesn't know Daoist Xiao, and has no intention of coveting the human race's power. Why would this sage instruct you?" "That's strange." Peng Jun scratched his head and said, "This junior received Song Yutian's order to interrogate a dragon that was with Senior Xiao. This junior rushed to Bai Qingyu. Where's the beast skin for the message?" The Golden Winged Rock was a little angry and asked. Peng Jun smiled bitterly and said, "If you need a reply to a message, you will send 2 pieces of beast skin. One of the beast skin has a message, and it also has the symbol of Saint Peng. After this junior reads the beast skin, it will disappear. The other beast skin is blank. After this junior writes it, I activate my demon energy and it will fly away. If there's no need for a reply, only 1 beast skin will be sent." "Damn it, you're really stupid." The Golden Winged Rock scolded, "You've been used by other demons, and you still think you're loyal to me." Peng Jun stiffened his neck and said, "That beast skin has your mark, so of course this junior thinks it's your instruction. How dare you talk back?" The Golden Winged Rock was furious. He flapped his left wing and was about to hit Peng Jun. But when he saw the stubborn look on Peng Jun's face, he sighed and lowered his wing. Although the Golden-Winged Great Rock was innately strong and intelligent, it was also stubborn and arrogant. It was the same for itself. It really couldn't force its juniors to be stronger than it. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and watched the farce. He could not understand if what the Golden-Winged Rock said was true. However, Reverend Yun was a body condensed from the dragon cleansing pool in the folded Emerald Legacy Land. If the Golden-Winged Rock obtained Yun's body, it would be very beneficial for him to step into the Supreme Realm and break through the void. Therefore, Xiaohua could not rule out the possibility that the Golden-Winged Rock was just putting on a show. Xiaohua said indifferently, "Whether Sky-Obscuring Ridge did it intentionally or not, this matter has tainted my name, and Sky-Obscuring Ridge must pay the price. Either Peng Jun dies, or he can be spared from death, but he cannot escape punishment. Sky-Obscuring Ridge must choose one. You have to pay the price for offending an expert." Feng Wu smiled and said, "Reverend Xiao is my good friend. You can see that Reverend Xiao is my friend. Peng Jun, don't you feel honored that you have given Sky-Obscuring Ridge to me after offending me?" Just as Feng Wu said, although Peng Jun's submission to Xiaohua was an apology to a Mahayana cultivator, it was, after all, a humiliation to the human race. Not only Peng Jun's face, but also the Golden-Winged Rock's face. If Peng Jun did it intentionally, Feng Wu would not say anything no matter what Xiaohua did. But obviously, Peng Jun was being used by some demon race. Since Feng Wu was a 7 stars great saint, he could not help but feel a little sympathy for Peng Jun. Therefore he also spoke. Feng Wu's words were fundamentally different from Xiaohua's. Peng Jun had given Sky-Obscuring Ridge to Feng Wu, a 7 stars great saint of the demon race. It was not a humiliation but an honor. Chapter 44:10. At this point, if Peng Jun still hesitates and doesn't make a decision, then he doesn't deserve to be the Demon King of Shrouding Sky Ridge. Peng Jun hurriedly bows and says respectfully, "Junior is willing to offer the foundation of Shrouding Sky Ridge as thanks for Junior's offense." Hee hee. Xiaohua smiles faintly and says, "This is just this Xiao's idea. I haven't asked Xiao Bai. If he isn't willing, then this Xiao will still not agree. Sit. Anai Quan hurriedly smiles. Junior understands, so I ask immortal friend Xiao to kindly accept it. Little White, what do you think? Xiao Hua turns to ask Little White Dragon. Little White Dragon hasn't opened his mouth and is met with by Bo's pleading gaze. To be honest, Little White Dragon being suppressed in by Qingyu is not so much suffering, but rather enjoying. Demon King Bai Qing gave his daughter to him. How can he have the nerve to take Bai Qing's life? As long as he doesn't take Bai Qing's life, then Peng Jun and Anai Quan won't lose their lives. Moreover, Little White Dragon is using Xiao Hua's name in Bai Qingyu, so Little White Dragon can't speak. Therefore, Little White Dragon says with a smile, this matter will be decided by Big Brother. Junior has no objections. And this is also good. Xiao Hua nods. This Xiao will accept Bai Qingyu, Ancient Bell Mountain and Shrouding Sky Ridge on behalf of Xiao Bai. This Xiao won't take your lives. Many thanks, Senior. Anai Quan, Bai Qing and Peng Jun finally let out a sigh of relief and bow in unison. Anai Quan cleverly says, Junior will rush back to Ancient Bell Mountain and restrain Junior's boy. Don't block Senior's disciple's tiger's prestige. Don't be anxious. Xiao Hua says coldly, you can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. Although you have already revealed your demon realm, this matter is only known to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm demon race. I'm afraid it won't be able to clear this Xiao's name in hidden immortal continent. This Xiao still has to think about how to punish you. Senior. Bai Qing really wants to cry but has no tears. He fiercely glares at Anai Quan and says, what should we do to satisfy Senior? Could it be that we have to offer a humble apology? Xiao Hua pinched his chin and said with a grin, that's a good idea. I'll let you carry the thorns from here and go to my sect to ask for forgiveness. The humans of the hidden immortal continent will definitely know about this. If Bai Qing had arms, he would definitely slap himself in the face. He was really too talkative. Speaking of punishment, Xiao Hua actually didn't have any plans in his heart. He just felt that it would be somewhat satisfying for the 3 Yao kings to take out the Yao realm to atone for their crimes. But if he really did say it, he would be in a bit of a difficult position. Bringing a bramble and asking for punishment was nothing more than a joke. Suddenly, Xiao Hua had an idea. He looked at the 3 monster kings with a smile and asked, do you know about the sutra seeking extreme bliss? I know. Bai Qing answered honestly. Previously, I, Bai Qingyu, had a demon who was duped to go over and become the Buddhist sect's merit. Junior's brother also went to seek revenge for this matter and has yet to return. Very good. Xiao Hua nodded. It's good that you all know. I've already killed your brother. What? Bai Qing was shocked and looked at Xiao Hua in disbelief. Xiao Hua said coldly, otherwise, how would this Xiao know that Bai Qingyu suppressed Xiao Bai? Sigh. Bai Qing finally understood the root of the matter. Xiao Hua said again, you don't have to hate this Xiao. You all should go and find out who instigated your brother to go to the Pure Land world. They are the main culprits. Yes, this Junior understands. What else could Bai Qing say? Now is the right time. Bai Qing, this is an excellent reason. You knew that your brother was killed by the sutra-seeking extreme bliss monk, so you went to seek revenge with Peng Jun and Anai Quan. Do a round with those monks and give them some merit. Xiao Hua says with a smile, after this round, this Xiao will no longer pursue your sins. Okay. Bai Qing didn't even think and agreed without hesitation. On the contrary, Anai Quan was bewildered. He hesitated and said, Senior, we are all Yao kings with 8th grade essence energy. Isn't this acting too fake? Go. Xiao Hua waved his hand, you will know when you go. Yes, this Junior understands. When Anai Quan heard this, he immediately understood. He then asked, does Senior have any other instructions? Chun Zong can't be touched. Xiao Hua nodded and replied, that fire ape can't be harmed. As for the rest, you all do as you see fit. Of course, the prerequisite is that you all don't get killed by that pig. Pig? Peng Jun was shocked. Since when did the sutra seeking extreme bliss have a pig? If this Junior encounters danger, can I mention Senior's name? Ni Quan thought more than Peng Jun and asked with a smile. You all are thinking too much. Xiaohua laughed. Once you mention this Xiao's name, that pig will slack off. You all just have to torture him. Yes, this junior understands. Ni Quan nodded vigorously and said, this junior will definitely help brother by take revenge and stop the sutra seeking extreme bliss. Go. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, go to your respective Yao realms first, then prepare to head to the Pure Land world. Many thanks, senior. Ni Quan, Peng Jun, and Bai Qing bowed respectfully. Just as Ni Quan and Peng Jun, the two demon kings, were about to move, Xiaohua suddenly said, oh right, you're not allowed to take a single item from the two demon realms. Ni Quan and Peng Jun, the two demon kings, swayed in the air and almost fell to the ground. With just a thought, everything turned into nothingness. After the two Yao kings left, Xiaohua turned to look at Wu and Wenchu and said with a smile, I'll have to trouble you two to call back the Fortune Gate's disciples. No problem, we'll be back soon. Wu and Wenchu nodded. Their figures flew up and swept past Ni Quan and Peng Jun. They swept up the two demon kings and left. Seeing that Xiaohua was about to call back the 200,000 human disciples, the golden-winged Great Peng was slightly puzzled, but he couldn't be bothered to care about the trivial matters of the heaven-concealing ridge. He looked at Feng Wu and said with a smile, Feng Sheng, you're a 7-star great saint of our demon race, how can you not go to the great holy hall after reaching the 1,000 beast sacred grounds? Moreover, with the addition of Feng Sheng, our demon race already has 7 great saints. We still have to arrange the seats for these 7 great saints. Hee, Peng Sheng is too polite. Feng Wu laughed and said, this saint has already fought with Peng Sheng before. If Peng Sheng hadn't broken through his bottleneck, this saint would have had a chance to take the first seat. Now that Peng Sheng is not far from breaking through the void, how can this saint be his opponent? Feng Sheng, you should go. Flying Feather Void Beast laughed and said, this saint wants to see the surprised expression of the profound armored Pentaceratops when he sees Feng Sheng. That guy has been eyeing Peng Sheng's position for a long time. He didn't expect that he wouldn't even be able to keep his position as the second great saint. Hearing the 3 great saints' words, the Pentaceratops seashell felt bitter. Although he was still a great saint of the demon race, without the bloodline of the sea god, he might not even be able to compare to the nether demonic dragon spider. However, who would care about the Pentaceratops seashell's feelings at this time? The 2 great saints only invited Feng Wu to the great holy hall. Feng Wu thought for a moment, then discussed with Xiaohua in his mind. He turned and bowed to Xiaohua, saying, fellow immortal Xiao, thank you for taking care of me before. Now that I've reached the 1,000 demons sacred realm, it's time for me to make a trip to the great holy hall. Let's part ways here. Xiaohua naturally knew that Feng Wu wanted to see the great holy hall, and also wanted to see if he could find the mastermind behind Peng Jun's orders. He smiled and cupped his hands, saying, Feng Sheng is a great saint of the demon race, so of course he has to go to the great holy hall. This Xiao will send Feng Sheng off. Fellow immortals, we'll meet again someday. After bowing to the Daoist, Feng Wu spread his wings and soared into the sky, heading in the direction of the great holy hall. Ancestor, we'll take our leave. The golden-winged Great Peng, the flying feather void beast, and the Pentaceratops seashell didn't dare to delay. After bowing to Bai Xian, they also left with Feng Wu. Seeing the 4 great saints leave, Bai Xian waved her hand, and a yin and yang bracelet appeared in her hand. She gave it to Xiaohua and said in a low voice, this is some rare treasure of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. It's useless to me, and the Dao sect has many methods. Daoist, please keep it first. Xiaohua looked at the yin and yang bracelet in front of him. He knew clearly that this was a gift from Bai Xian, to thank him for returning the rainbow conch seashell. The things inside were definitely precious. Unfortunately, Bai Xian was too eager to show off. Even now, she still didn't want to say it out loud. Thus, Xiaohua didn't refuse. He waved his hand and sent the yin and yang bracelet into the space. He said, thank you, senior. Xiaobai Jade Wave. Bei Xian'er looked at the little white dragon and jade wave and said, "I'm leaving. Come with me." "Yes, old ancestor." Jade wave agreed without even thinking. However, the little white dragon shook his head and said, "Old ancestor, Junior still wants to talk to Xiaohua about some things. Let's wait for a few days." "See." Jade wave stared blankly and immediately understood. She also hurriedly nodded and said, "Indeed. Old ancestor, you go first. Boy will bring Xiaohua over in a few days." "Okay." Seeing the little white dragon being so sentimental, how could Bei Xian'er blame him? She transmitted a few words to Jade Wave, and then nodded toward Xiaohua. Her figure flashed, and she disappeared without a trace. Seeing that his enemies were all gone, Xiaohua looked at the blazing sun that had already passed its peak, and then looked at the mess on the ground. He couldn't help but sigh again. "Big brother," the little white dragon said with a smile on his face, "it's all Junior's fault. I shouldn't have used Big Brother's name to move around the 1,000 demons sacred realm in the hidden immortal continent. I've caused trouble for you." Xiaohua floated in front of the little white dragon, stretched out his arms, and said with a smile, "Between you and me, is there still a need to say these words? Your thoughts of using my name to move around, how could I not know?" "Big brother." The little white dragon was very happy in his heart. He also stretched out his arms and hugged Xiaohua. Xiaohua patted the little white dragon's back and said, "I originally wanted to give you some opportunities, but looking at that old ancestor, she also had the same intention. She's from the Shell race, and also the ancestor of several great sages. Presumably, the things she prepared would be more suitable for you. I can only give you the benefits of the West Sea Dragon Palace Lord." Chapter 44:11. Big brother. Little white dragon also patted Xiaohua's back and said with a smile, "Little brother should suffer a bit for you. You are too polite." Seeing that Xiaohua was so unguarded against little white dragon, Jade Wave's eyeballs were about to fall out. She understood very well that as long as it was a monster, as long as it was an adult, it wouldn't let other monsters get close to it. Especially the higher one's strength, the more vigilant they were. Because as long as they got close, they might be killed by other monsters if they weren't on guard. If the monster race was like this, then the human race was even more so. How could they be like Xiaohua and Little White Dragon, one dragon and one human hugging like brothers? Of course, the two identical Xiaohus hugging made Jade Wave drunk. Unfortunately, the following sentence immediately shocked Jade Wave. Because Little White Dragon said with a smile, "However, little brother likes it. Presumably, the West Sea Dragon Palace has many beautiful sea creatures." "Ha!" Xiaohua laughed and loosened his arms. "This is not something I can control. You have to ask Jade Wave and Ancestor." "She dares to control." Little White Dragon glared at Jade Wave, but Jade Wave acted as if she didn't see it. Instead, she walked in front of Xiaohua and took out a heaven and earth ring from her bosom. She respectfully handed it to Xiaohua and said, "Big brother, this is the corpse and blood clothes left behind after Li Jing self-detonated in the heavenly dam water prison. I didn't know that Li Jing was Big brother's lover, so I offended you that day." It had to be said that as long as it was a woman, no matter if it was a human or a demon, they were all exquisite. Jade Wave simply didn't argue with Little White Dragon and only spoke to Xiaohua. She knew that Little White Dragon trusted Xiaohua the most. She only needed to curry favor with Xiaohua. She simply didn't need to compete with other women for Little White Dragon to obediently listen to her words. At the very least, Little White Dragon wouldn't dare to neglect or abandon her. Sure enough, Xiaohua saw that Jade Wave was so honest that she even spoke of her malice towards Fairy Jing. He smiled slightly. Although his smile was extremely bitter, the praise in his eyes was obvious. After receiving the cosmic bracelet, Xiaohua did not release his spiritual force to explore it. He stared at the cosmic bracelet for a long time, as if he was looking at the scene on Heartbreak Mountain from a long time ago. From this moment onwards, there will be no distractions in my heart, no emotions to depend on, no heart to depend on, no soul to return to. However, when people are in front of me, there is no longer a shadow in my eyes. A journey on the mountain, a journey on the water, I walk towards the place of loneliness, the shadow of the night invisible. The wind blows, the snow blows, the noise shatters my heart's dream, there is no such sound in this world. Fairy Jing's singing, the setting sun, and the red clouds in the sky seem to be vivid in his mind. Fairy Jing's delicate body trembled slightly as she opened her mouth. The scene of the unforgettable love water turning into a stream of water and falling into her mouth was revived. Why did he look so familiar? Where is this? Fairy Jing's curious and puzzled eyes appeared in front of Xiaohua again. Oh, all right. Although I don't know who you are, looking at you makes me feel at ease. My name is Li Jing, and my Buddhist name is Fairy Jing. I'm in charge of a seaside country in a corner of the hidden immortal continent. If fellow Daoist arrives at the seaside that day, you can come to my country for a chat. Farewell. Fairy Jing's unhurried voice sounded in Xiaohua's ear again. That distant figure was so far away, and that faintly discernible voice was so faintly discernible. At this moment, it unexpectedly became an eternal farewell. In particular, the unforgettable love water. Fairy Jing deliberately wanted to forget Xiaohua, but as it happened, when she saw the little white dragon's appearance, all her feelings surfaced again. Fortune made fools of people. For Xiaohua, and also for her own mistake, Fairy Jing used her life to make up for it. Big brother. How could the little white dragon not understand the pain in Xiaohua's heart? He flew in front of Xiaohua and explained the cause of the matter. He didn't talk about Xiaohua, only muttering in a low voice. This time, we will be separated by yin and yang. Even if I have a myriad of thoughts, they will all turn into a flower of the yellow springs. I will have no one to tell the hidden grievances in my heart. Even Jade Wave, who already knew the course of events, couldn't help but shed some tears. Even the Celestials and other clones sighed endlessly. In the end, the little white dragon said, before Fairy Jing left, she had a wish. What? Quickly say it. Xiaohua hastily raised his head and asked. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it. This. The little white dragon smiled bitterly. Fairy Jing's request, I'm afraid Big Brother can't do it in a short time. Quickly say it. Xiaohua asked sternly. Fairy Jing only wants to reincarnate and no longer be the descendant of some monster race. She only wants to be a clean person, even if she doesn't have any cultivation and only wants to live a quiet life. The little white dragon said solemnly. AI. Xiaohua sighed, but a moment later, his eyes lit up again. He said in shock, you mean? Not bad. The little white dragon laughed. Big Brother can't do it now, but he should be able to in the future. As the little white dragon spoke, between his eyebrows, in front of his dragon horn, several strands of soul surged. An extremely small dark green ball of light flew out. As soon as that ball of light appeared, it immediately wanted to dissipate. How could Xiaohua let this ball of light dissipate? He released his netherworld origin power and instantly sent this ball of light into the dark side of the space. He chose the root of the underworld fruit tree and placed it there. When he saw a transparent underworld pearl slowly appear, Fairy Jing's soul quietly fell asleep. Only then did he feel at ease and leave the space. Big Brother. The netherworld origin power was so powerful. The little white dragon had cultivated soul techniques, so how could he not sense it? He asked somewhat hesitantly. No need for the future. Xiaohua said proudly. Fairy Jing's wish can be realized by this Xiao right now. Ah! The little white dragon was stunned, and Jade Wave was even more stunned. However, Xiaohua's gaze swept over Jade Wave, and he said indifferently, this matter can only be known by people this Xiao trusts. This Xiao doesn't want others to know. Bai Bo smiled sweetly. With such a resourceful big brother and his trust in her, how could she possibly think of divulging it? Big brother, you really are my big brother. You are too powerful. The little white dragon could only shake his head in admiration. He sighed and said, what kind of spirit pills have you taken in the past 200 years? I can't believe your cultivation base has reached such a level. Damn it, even if I want to impersonate you in the future, I'm afraid I can't. Then be yourself. Xiao Hua said smilingly, the Dragon Emperor of the Western Ocean Dragon Palace is still waiting for you. Good. Hurry up and let the Dragon King of the Western Ocean wash his ass clean, and wait for me to kick him. The little white dragon laughed. With your cultivation base, you are far weaker than Ao Hong. Reverend Yun twitched his mouth and said mockingly. The little white dragon could not be compared with Reverend Yun before, and the gap between them was even greater. With a crying face, he said, Isn't it all my big brother's fault? Why didn't you bring your little brother? Tisk, hurry up and find that patriarch of yours. Reverend Yun said disdainfully, she might have some good ideas. Oh, don't be so hasty. Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something and transmitted his voice. About the incident at Yellow Flower Ridge, haven't you recovered your memory yet? Not completely. The little white dragon said solemnly, that seal is very powerful, and I can only break it when my overall strength has reached a certain level. Oh, if Big Brother is in a hurry, you can try to break it. Xiao Hua thought for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm not in a hurry. Besides, this seal was made by that man. I'll try not to break it if I can, or it might affect your memory. Of course, if possible, you can ask Patriarch. She might have some ideas. She. The little white dragon was surprised. How could she possibly have some ideas? Don't ask. Xiao Hua smiled mysteriously and said, just trust me. All right. Naturally, the little white dragon believed Xiao Hua's words without a doubt. Let's go with Jade Wave for now. Xiao Hua patted the little white dragon on the shoulder and said, when you have the overall strength, you can follow me and roam the 3 continents. All right, I'll definitely do my best for Big Brother. The little white dragon nodded vigorously, then gave Jade Wave a glare and said, hurry up and lead the way. Big Brother, I'll take my leave. Jade Wave respectfully saluted Xiao Hua, then flew away with the little white dragon. All right, fellow Daoists. Seeing that the world was quiet, Xiao Hua smiled and said, you all should go back and rest. Damn, this Bei Xian'er is too powerful, I also need to meditate. Ha, that's right, this Bai Qingyu is ours anyway. Fellow Daoists can find a place to meditate in this demon territory. Daoist Yun laughed, but then he looked into the distance and said, unfortunately, fellow Daoist Wu and the others will be back soon. Fellow Daoists should wait until you're done. Daoist Yun smiled and disappeared into the void. Archdevil Venerable Shi, Celestial Being, and the others also entered the void. Not long after, Daoist Wu and Wen Chu returned together. In fact, since Xiao Hua appeared in Bai Qingyu, ordered 200,000 Fortune Gates disciples to attack Shrouding Sky Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain, joined forces with his clones to fight the 3 demonic beast race saints, and finally attracted the power of the divine punishment to defeat Bei Xian. It only took a few hours. The 200,000 Fortune Gates disciples had yet to reach the 2 demon territories. Daoist Wu and Wen Chu were carrying 2 demonic beast kings, and their teleportation speed was extremely fast, so they naturally could return at this time. Daoist Wu and Wen Chu were outside the Great 7-Colored Radiance Shell World. Together with Feng Wu, they held the 3 demonic beast race great saints hostage, so they didn't suffer any special injuries. Seeing the 2 clones, Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said with a smile, fellow Daoist Wu, please go back and rest. I have something to say to fellow Daoist Wen Chu. Alright. Daoist Wu didn't ask any more questions and returned to the void. Wen Chu was puzzled and asked, is there anything else, fellow Daoist? Xiao Hua smiled and said, when the 3 demonic beast race great saints saw the 3 demonic beast kings offering Bai Qingyu, Shrouding Sky Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain to me, they didn't stop them. Of course, they didn't put the 3 demonic beast kings' territories in their eyes. More importantly, they felt that the 1,000 Beasts Sacred Realm is the demonic beast race's territory, and we humans have no place here. Even if we obtain the 3 demonic beast territories today, we will have to abandon them in the future. Therefore, if we want to control the 3 demonic beast territories, we need a transmission array. Among all the fellow Daoists, other than fellow Daoist Lei, fellow Daoist Wu, and fellow Daoist Lei are proficient in the transmission array. We will have to trouble fellow Daoist now. Chapter 44:12. So that's how it is. Wen Chu laughed. Previously, fellow Immortal Lei Ting often bragged about how powerful the transmission array he built was. I've long wanted to compete with him. Today, I'll take this opportunity to dampen his spirit. That's great. Xiaohua nodded. The Grand Cosmos Shifting Token is still in fellow Daoist Lei Ting's hands. However, with fellow Daoist Wu's technique, the Grand Cosmos Shifting Token doesn't seem that important anymore. After fellow Daoist builds the transmission array, you can leave behind a spiritual sense mark. After you get the Grand Cosmos Shifting Token, you can connect the two transmission arrays together. I understand. Wen Chu squinted his eyes and used the clear sight technique. He looked around and said with a smile, Bai Qingyu has been reduced to this state. I'm afraid it's not suitable to build a transmission array. Shall I go further and take a look? Alright. Xiaohua agreed. Fellow Daoist, you can start building the transmission array first. After I settle the matters here, I'll bring the other fellow Daoists to help you. Well said, well said. Wen Chu said. A cloud appeared under his feet and he flew into the distance. After Wen Chu left, Xiaohua raised his eyes and looked at the sun in the west. He sighed in his heart. He raised his hand and took out the universe bracelet with Fairy Jing's bloody clothes and remains. After looking at it for a moment, he said in a low voice, Fairy Jing, although Qing's death wasn't my fault, Qing died for me. Since Qing's soul has entered the cycle of reincarnation, it's time for her flesh and blood to be buried in peace. Thinking of this, Xiaohua released his spiritual sense, wanting to find a place with beautiful scenery to bury her. Unfortunately, Bai Qingyu had long been destroyed. Where could he find a suitable place? Forget it. When this matter is over, I'll find a place for Fairy Jing to rest in peace. Xiaohua sighed and put away the universe bracelet. He stood in the air and waited for the Fortune Gate's disciples. At this time, the heaven and earth origin energy within tens of thousands of miles was still chaotic. Countless strands of heaven and earth origin energy condensed into a fierce wind that rushed towards Bai Qingyu. It was the biting cold wind. Xiaohua stood alone under the sun. His figure was elongated, and his Daoist robes fluttered in the wind. People often say that a general's success is built on the bones of 10,000 soldiers. When a cultivator cultivates to the highest level, their prestige reaches the highest level. Isn't this the same? Bai Qingyu, the Fortune Gate's disciples who had slaughtered close to 1,000,000 demonic beasts, and the Fortune Gate's disciples who had been killed by the 1,000 sacred realm demonic beasts, had all become the bones that had created Daoist Zhao's name that had shaken the three mainlands. Although Xiaohua had just grasped the creation realm and was gradually peering into yin and yang, he was still unable to let the souls of these pitiful disciples rest in peace. Watching the setting sun, Xiaohua actually felt a chill down his spine. He shrunk his neck, but just as he was about to release his divine sense to check on the Fortune Gate disciples, a faint smile appeared on his face. With a wave of his hand, he brought Little Black and Little Yellow out of Shenhua continent. Daddy, Daddy! Little Black and Little Yellow both shouted and landed on Xiaohua's shoulders. One used its tongue to lick Xiaohua's ears while the other used its two claws to scratch Xiaohua's hair. It was no different from when they were young. Hearing Goldie call him Daddy, Xiaohua faintly smiled. He knew that the two little things didn't go out for nothing. Why did the two of you also come to Bai Qingyu? Xiaohua raised his hand to rub the two little things' heads and asked with a smile. After all, time was tight, so the two little things only gave a rough account of what had happened in Bai Qingyu. Boy heard that Daddy was suppressed by Bai Qingyu's Beast King, so he naturally came to save Daddy. Little Yellow's mouth was fast, and he had already finished Xiaohua's words. It took him a full hour to tell Xiaohua everything that had happened after he and Little Black left Xiaohua. Although the two little things were standing on his shoulders, and the two little things' 200 years of training was similar to the training of ordinary qi refinement or foundation establishment cultivators. Although there were some dangers during that period, and they had gone through several life and death situations, overall, it was more daunting than dangerous. It was a pity that he was too concerned, and Xiaohua couldn't help but shudder. He regretted letting the two little things out. At the end of the story, Little Yellow suddenly asked curiously, "Oh right, Daddy, you're so powerful now, how could you be suppressed by Qingyu's Beast King? That shouldn't be Daddy." Little Black didn't interrupt, and only now did he say with confidence, "If I'm not wrong, it should be that dragon-shaped soul. Otherwise, there's no way we couldn't tell." And then, Daddy said it was his good friend. Little Yellow naturally understood and said with a smile, "It must be him." Xiaohua smiled. He already knew that he was wrong. If the two little things were always by his side, Little Yellow would probably have to call him Mommy. How could they tell the little white dragon apart? "You guessed correctly," Xiaohua replied. "The little white dragon has successfully condensed his body. He's now called Xiao Bai." "Where is he?" Little Yellow jumped on Xiaohua's shoulder and shouted, "Hurry up and call him out. He actually dared to lie to us. Teach him a lesson." He's not here now," Xiaohua replied. "He went to a place. When you see him again, I'm afraid you won't be able to defeat him. How can you teach him a lesson?" We want to go too," Little Yellow shouted. "Daddy, I really didn't expect there to be so many experts in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Boy also wants to go there to cultivate." Xiaohua's heart stirred. He thought of the bloodline inheritance and essence left behind by the truth listener beast and the heaven-swallowing beast after they were killed. He thought to himself, "Damn it, could it be that this is also a kind of karma? Is this Little Yellow and Little Black's opportunity?" Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, "You don't have to go there. Daddy has a way to let you surpass the little white dragon. However, there's not enough time now. How about I let you cultivate after I'm done with the matters here?" Little Yellow shouted and jumped on Xiaohua's shoulder. "Surpass the little white dragon. Surpass the little white dragon. Teach him a lesson." On the other hand, Little Black replied steadily, "Everything will be decided by Father." Seeing the two little ones like this, Xiaohua's mood was great. He smiled and said, "Little Yellow, do you still remember Dai?" "Who is Dai?" Little Yellow was stunned and asked curiously, "Should I remember?" Xiaohua smiled. When Dai hugged Little Yellow that day, Little Yellow was dying. How could it know Dai-er's name? Moreover, when Dai entered the space, Dai was dying and Little Yellow was still unconscious. When Little Yellow and Little Black grew up, he separated Dai from the Shenhua continent. How could Little Yellow remember Dai? "It's the girl who hugged you before you met Daddy," Xiaohua reminded. "It's also the big white goose lying beside you when you were at home." "Oh, I know. Little Yellow immediately understood and asked, "She's called Dai?" "If that's the case, she seemed to have taken care of Boy. Where did she go after that?" "Wait a moment." Xiaohua smiled and sent Dai out of the Shenhua continent. "Greetings, sage." As soon as Dai landed in the air, she couldn't be bothered to look elsewhere and hurriedly bowed. "Get up here. Take a look at who this is." Xiaohua smiled and raised his hand to help Dai. Dai felt a little strange, but when her gaze fell on Little Yellow, a smile immediately appeared on her face and she called out, "Little Yellow? You're back?" "Ha, Sister Dai. So you're called Dai?" Little Yellow was also familiar with Dai-er's aura and wagged its tail as it landed in Dai-er's arms. Dai-er instantly returned to the time when she was a child. She happily hugged Little Yellow in her arms and lovingly patted Little Yellow's head. It was rare for her to feel calm again. People were always strange. Even Dai, who was from the Flying Feather clan of the 10,000 Demon Realm, was the same. In her memory, there was always an unforgettable time. This time, whether it was due to coincidence or a cycle, but the memory of this time brought her an incomparable sense of security. Dai followed the goddess of the 10,000 Demon Realm to the Dawn Rain continent. Although there was Xianwan's protection, there was always a feeling of being homeless. On the Dawn Rain continent, she occasionally encountered the seriously injured Little Yellow. Little Yellow's pitiful experience made Dai throw her own misery aside and wholeheartedly care for Little Yellow. It could be said that it awakened the maternal instinct in Dai Er's heart in advance. After Little Yellow left, Dai was still reluctant to part with it. When she saw Little Yellow again in Xiao Hua's space, the feeling of despair and anxiety in her heart suddenly disappeared. Little Yellow made her feel safe. After thousands of years passed, Dai became more and more scrupulous. Meeting Xianxia was love. Love was worrying about gains and losses, but it was never about safety. Even when she saw Xiaohua again, Dai didn't have much of an impression of Xiaohua. It was only because of Little Yellow that Dai felt at ease with Xiaohua's strength. It was a kind of worship and respect. At this time, when Dai saw Little Yellow again, a special person who brought with him special memories, Dai's heart suddenly calmed down. It was even more tranquil than when she returned to Xian Wan's side. An indescribable sense of security filled Dai's heart more than ever. 2 tears of joy couldn't help but fall from the corner of Dai's eyes. It was not the feeling of familial love, but it was the feeling of family love that made Dai's body glow with a layer of holy brilliance. Sister? A drop of tear fell on Little Yellow's body. Little Yellow was startled and hurriedly looked up. When he saw Dai's appearance, he cried out, "What's wrong? Who bullied you? Tell me quickly, Little Black, and I will go and vent your anger for you. Don't be afraid, Little Black and I are very powerful now. If the 2 of us can't do it, there's still Father. He's very powerful. I'm afraid he's even fiercer than the great saint of the demon race." While speaking, Little Yellow stretched out his paw and wiped away the tears on Dai's face. Feeling the warmth of the furry paw, Dai showed a happy smile, patted Little Yellow's head and said, "Silly child, sister is crying because of happiness. Now that Daoist Master Xiao is here, who would dare to bully sister?" Chapter 44:13. Hee, that's good, that's good. Hearing this, Goldie stretched out a claw from Dai's arms and shouted to Little Black, "Little Black, come here, this is Sister Dai. I've told you before." "I know, I've seen her at home." Little Black was not as excited as Goldie. He flew closer and wagged his tail. "Greetings, Sister Dai." "Hello, Little Black." Dai replied with a smile. She did not hug Little Black. It was not that Dai's chest was not big enough, it was that her heart was not big enough. "Sister, where have you been for the past few hundred years? Isn't our family doing well? How did you learn to run away from home?" Goldie did not have any scruples in front of Dai and asked directly. Dai was startled. She raised her head slightly and looked at Xiaohua. Xiaohua only looked at her with a smile and didn't answer. Dai's mind quickly turned. She smiled and said to Goldie, "It's a bit boring at home. Sister is going out for a walk." Hee, that's right, it's not good to stay at home all the time." Goldie spoke quickly and said, "Little Black and I also came out, but I don't know where sister went." Dai was a bit speechless. She could tell Goldie what she saw from the Thousand Demon Realm to Dawn Rain Continent, but she did not want to lie to Goldie. Xiaohua smiled and said, "After Xianxia returns, I'll let him tell you about it." Father, Xianxia is still here? Didn't he leave with his master? What about his wretched master? Is he still so lecherous?" Goldie's words could not be stopped. It was like a torrential river. How was it similar to the ferocious Di-Ting beast in the great desolate continent? Right, how is Xianxia and that Diawu? It's been a few hundred years. Their children should know how to play soy sauce now, right? Xiaohua held his forehead and smiled bitterly. When he was young, Goldie was talkative, but Xiaohua thought it was cute. Who would have thought that Goldie would become a chatterbox now? "Ya's master is dead. Ya is now your father's disciple." "On the contrary," replied calmly, "Diawu also left Ya. If there are no accidents, she should have died a few hundred years ago. They can't have children playing soy sauce." "Ioyo, there are so many stories." Goldie was extremely excited, as if his gossipy heart had been revived. He cried out, "Back then, Brother Yo was completely infatuated with that Diawu." At this point, Goldie suddenly froze as if he had understood something. He said in surprise, "Sister, you're called Brother Ya? Ya? Ioyo, sister, how can Brother Ya be worthy of you?" He was really bored. Out of 3 questions, he couldn't even answer a single one. Moreover, his cultivation was also extremely poor. Don't look for him. I think Brother Lu is not bad. He's handsome and has a glib tongue. While they were talking, a loud and clear dragon roar came from the distance. In the sky, dozens of colorful dragons flew over under the stars and moon. They were majestic, and the golden dragon in front was even more eye-catching. However, when they flew closer, a powerful aura appeared beside the golden dragon. This aura was restrained and not ostentatious, as if the owner of this aura was deliberately keeping a low profile. Even so, the aura that leaked out was enough to suppress the dragon's aura. A bloody, soul-devouring and terrifying aura was emitted from that aura. Brother Ya? Goldie was dumbfounded. He whispered, "When did this guy become so powerful?" "He's not just powerful." Blackie curled his lips and said, "His ability to pick up girls is even higher." Xiao Hua, who was beside them, heard it clearly. He was so shocked that he almost fell from the sky. He was very surprised in his heart. Damn it! Where did these 2 brats go? Where did they learn these words? The dragons were the first to arrive, but they didn't dare to approach. When they were a few miles away from Xiao Hua, they stopped and turned into their human forms. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Dragon Master Xiao." "Good, thank you for your hard work." Xiao Hua nodded slightly and said, "Yuanya, Ao Xing, and Ao Zhan flew over." Yuanya bowed and said, "Master." Xiao Hua looked at Yuanya and asked, "How many dragons did you kill?" "Not a single one." Yuanya replied, "They were scared out of their wits by Master. I waved my demonic spear and they all surrendered." Good. Xiao Hua didn't ask Yuanya anymore. He waved his hand and asked Yuanya to leave. He then turned to ask Ao Xing and Ao Zhan, "What did these dragons say? Who sent them?" Ao Xing and Ao Zhan didn't dare to delay. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Dragon Master. Let me tell you, they themselves don't know who gave the orders. And it's not out of my expectations." Xiao Hua nodded. He wasn't surprised at all. Ao Xing said again, "Let's talk about this after I return to Dragon Island and see Long Su on the island. There should be some clues." "Little elder, you're too optimistic." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "If there were any clues in Long Su, why would Ao Jia let you be the bait?" Unfortunately, Ao Jia underestimated this person. He didn't expect dozens of dragons to appear at once. "If it wasn't for me, you would have been eaten by them." "Damn it," Ao Xing said angrily, "when I return to Dragon Island, I will definitely expose that bastard's face." "What right do you have?" Xiao Hua said coldly. "Even Ao Jia doesn't dare to show his cards. What right do you have?" Ao Xing heard and couldn't help but feel dejected. Ao Zhan smiled and said, "Little elder, don't worry. Don't you still have me? Even if I'm not strong enough, there's still Dragon Master Xiao. I feel useless." Ao Xing raised his head painfully and said, "I want to be like Yuanya and step on that piece of shit under my feet to vent my anger." Ao Zhan shrugged and expressed his helplessness. On the path of strength, if it wasn't hard work, then it was opportunity. Ao Zhan obtained the inheritance of the dragons in the relic realm. That was an opportunity. But even if there was an opportunity, he still had to work hard. He wanted to stand above the Dragon Palace. It wasn't something that could be done in a short time, let alone Ao Xing. I'm back." Yuanya flew to Dai's side. There wasn't much of a smile on his face. He only said one sentence and didn't ask how Dai came out of Shenhua continent. Then he looked at Goldie and Blackie and said, "You two are back too." Look. Goldie said unhappily, "We haven't seen each other for hundreds of years, and he still doesn't look happy. What's so good about him?" "Sister, don't want him. I'll find you a better one. Brother Lu isn't enough, but there's still Wang Bianfei. That little guy is outstanding. He must be a handsome young master now." Yuanya was stunned. He glanced at Goldie but didn't react. Dyer smiled and ignored Goldie. She patted his head and said to Yuanya, "You're not hurt, are you?" Yuanya answered with one word. "Good." Dyer also answered with one word. Both of their eyes were full of smiles. Sigh, there's no other way. Seeing that the two of them were silent, Goldie was also helpless. He cried out, a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. A tortoise and a mung bean, they're compatible. Blackie said from the side. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at Ao Sheng, who was in pain. He muttered in his heart. Ao Sheng was the current dragon body of the dragon god of the primitive continent. Xiaohua obtained the dragon bones and other things left behind by the dragon god in the primitive continent. These things could be said to be Ao Sheng's, but they could also be said to not be Ao Sheng's. After all, it had been 2 lives. However, Ao Sheng was very affectionate. When he heard that Xiaohua was suppressed by Monster King by Qingyu, he ignored his own safety and came to rescue him. Of course, Ao Jia calculated it. If not for Ao Sheng's stubbornness, how could Ao Jia bear to let Ao Sheng take the risk? Based on Ao Sheng's affection, Xiaohua couldn't say that the dragon bones and other things had nothing to do with Ao Sheng. But the problem was that the things left behind by the dragon god were useful to Daoist Yun. The dragon god had a dispute with Jiang Luer's Maitreya Buddha in his previous life. Xiaohua didn't know what this dispute was, and he didn't have the right to know. But Xiaohua had the right to decide what the dragon god left behind. Now that Jiang Luer had abandoned the position of Buddha Lord in her previous life, it was even more impossible for Xiaohua to give all of the dragon god's things to Ao Sheng. Besides, even if Xiaohua wanted to give everything to Ao Sheng now, with Ao Sheng's current cultivation and dragon body, it was impossible for him to get it. These things were enough to make all the dragons go crazy. They would only make Ao Sheng die faster. Since he had made his decision, Xiaohua smiled and asked, Ao Sheng, I have an idea. Are you willing to accept it? I already knew that Dragon Master had an idea. Tell me. When Ao Sheng heard this, the pain on his face disappeared like the wind blowing away the clouds. Damn it. Xiaohua touched his nose and smiled bitterly. I seem to have fallen into your trap. Hee. Ao Sheng glanced at Ao Zhan and said, Ao Zhan was just an Eastern Sea Dragon guard before, but now he is so powerful. I asked him many times, but he refused to say anything. But do I still have to ask? Even a blind person can see that it is related to Dragon Master. Compared to 200 years ago, Dragon Master's strength is even more different. If I don't look for Dragon Master, who else can I look for? You are my Dragon Clan's Dragon Master. Ao Zhan also smiled and said, Spiritual Master, Ao Sheng is definitely a Dragon Clan member who is very affectionate. It is rare in my Dragon Clan. He is also very concerned about you. If you can help him, please do your best to help him. How can I not know about his cunning mind? Xiaohua smiled and said, Back then in the Stacked Jade Legacy realm, I already knew. Hee. Hearing Xiaohua mention the Stacked Jade Legacy realm, Ao Sheng's heart calmed down. He knew that Xiaohua had already agreed. But Xiaohua's face turned serious and said, You have to make a dragon oath in front of me first. No problem. Ao Sheng said without hesitation, I will never betray Dragon Master in this life. I will not betray Dragon Island. I will. Chapter 44:14. That's not it. Xiaohua waved his hand in annoyance. Just as he was about to explain, he thought, everything in this world has karma. The karma between Lord Dragon God and the previous incarnation of Maitreya Buddha is their own matter. If I force Ao Sheng to swear a dragon oath not to take revenge on Jiang Luer, wouldn't that be interfering with their karma? This is unfair to Ao Sheng. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. Ao Sheng asked curiously, What does Master Long want to say? There's no need. Xiaohua laughed. Even if I don't trust Ao Jia, how can I not trust Ao Sheng? This so-called dragon oath, let's not talk about it anymore. Xiaohua. Ao Sheng was really touched. He actually called Xiaohua by his name. I will never betray you in the future. You dare? Xiaohua glared at him. When the time comes, I'll slap you into meat paste. Ao Sheng shrunk his neck and curled his lips. You're right, with your strength, who dares? Since you've agreed, then it's easy. Xiaohua raised his head and said to the group of dragons, "Return to the Dragon Island and inform the Dragon Hall of this matter. Ao Xing will cultivate with this Xiao, and when he succeeds, this Xiao will let him return to the Dragon Island." We obey Master Long's order. How could the group of dragons dare to disobey? They urged their bodies to fly away. Xiaohua raised his hand and said, "Don't be in a hurry to return now, wait for my Fortune Gate disciples to set off, then all of you will return together." The dragons were overjoyed. The Fortune Gate disciples were an army of 200,000, who would dare to face them head-on. Then this junior will return with the Fortune Gate disciples. Ao Zhan smiled. Actually, this junior also wants to cultivate with Master Long. You don't have to. Xiaohua laughed. Your opportunity is different from Ao Sheng's. Oh, there's one more thing. Xiaohua then told Ao Zhan about Jiang Hong leading the group of dragons back to the Heavenly Paradise River. In the end, he said, Jiang Hong and Lu Yi are this Xiao's disciples, and they are in charge of the Heavenly Paradise River. They will help you return to the Dragon Hall. Jiang Hong may have some ambition, but she is a woman, after all, this Xiao. Lu Yi, to restrain her, you don't have to worry too much about it. Others may not know your opportunity, but how could this Xiao not know it? Your strength will surpass hers sooner or later. When Ao Zhan heard this news, he was both surprised and happy. He didn't dare to believe what Xiaohua had said. But when he looked at Yuanya, who was not far away, he didn't know what Yuanya was like before, but now, Yuanya was far beyond his reach. If Yuanya was like this, why couldn't Jiang Hong be like this? Why couldn't Jiang Hong and Lu Yi's descendants do the same? The assistance that Xiaohua spoke of wasn't just assistance, it was simply the main force. Ao Zhan took a deep breath, bowed, and said, Junior, thanks Master Long. Now that I think about it, getting to know Master Long was really the wisest decision of this junior's life. There's a saying in the human race, if you treat me like a country knight, I'll definitely repay you like a country knight. Xiaohua smiled and said, although this sentence is not appropriate to use here, it still means returning a plum for a peach. This Xiao is still willing to leave his trust to a brave man. Yes, this junior understands. This junior will also carefully deal with the worries that senior has mentioned. This kind of thing isn't rare in my dragon race. Senior, please rest assured. Ao Zhan carefully agreed to the matter regarding Jiang Hong. Also, Xiaohua transmitted again, this Xiao wants Little White Dragon to be the master of the West Sea. Little White Dragon? Ao Zhan stared blankly, then smiled and said, Senior, rest assured. This is what Little White Dragon deserves. At the same time, it's also what this junior wants. This junior can only step into the Dragon Palace Hall after controlling part of the power of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Senior's thoughts coincide with this junior's. Ah! Xiaohua laughed loudly, then it's decided. Xiaohua, Daoist Xiao? While Xiaohua was laughing, another human cultivator flew over from the distance. Before they even got close, a woman's voice was already heard. Amidst the surprise, there was uncertainty, and even more weakness. Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and looked over. It was really Xian Songzi and Daoist Jingting, the two seventh tribulation scattered nascent souls, bringing Sun Kong, Zhang Daoran, Zhai Xingzi, and Gusu Qiudi over. At this moment, Gusu Qiudi was nestled in Zhai Xingzi's arms. Her face was bright red and her eyes were as bright as stars. Xiaohua's heart warmed. With a smile on his face, he floated over to welcome them. Seeing that Xiaohua had only taken a step and his figure had already crossed 100 miles, he stood still and cupped his hands, saying, I thank the four of you for coming to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to help. He, I knew it. Gusu Qiudi's face was pressed against Zhai Xingzi's chest. She didn't directly answer Xiaohua, but instead said coquettishly, although Xiaohua is already the most powerful cultivator of the three continents, he definitely won't change from the past. Zhai Xingzi smiled bitterly. This Xiaohua in front of them wasn't the same nascent soul cultivator as them in the past. He was a human Mahayana cultivator. A human Mahayana cultivator. Just thinking about it made Zhai Xingzi's blood boil. He didn't know how many years it had been since a Daoist Mahayana cultivator appeared in the 3 continents. But now, he saw and knew that this Mahayana cultivator was a fellow cultivator who had gone through life and death with him. How could he not be moved? Zhai Xingzi patted Gusu Qiudi's back. He stopped with Xianxia and said respectfully, "Zhai Xingzi greets Daoist Xiao." Gusu Qiudi moved away from Zhai Xingzi with difficulty. She raised her hand slightly and said with a smile, "I'm heavily injured and can't greet you properly. Please forgive me, Daoist Xiao." "Master?" Xianxia stopped and let go of Zhai Xingzi. He bowed and saluted. Daoist Jingting also called out and stood together with Xianxia. "Zhang Daoran greets Senior Xiao." Zhang Daoran now prostrated himself in admiration of Xiao Hua. That day he still wanted to join hands with Xiao Hua, Sun Kong, and Zhai Xingzi to become the 4 heroes of the hidden immortal continent. But now, he couldn't even become Xiao Hua's disciple. How could he be compared to the 4 heroes? "Greetings, Daoist Xiao." Sun Kong didn't think as much as Zhang Daoran, but he also saluted respectfully. He didn't dare to be negligent. Xiao Hua smiled and took out a medicinal pill from his bosom. He handed it to Zhai Xingzi and said, "This is a medicinal pill refined by me. It's also useful for Confucian cultivators." Fellow Daoist Gusu only forcefully activated her true qi and suffered a backlash from my Daoist magic tool. Her meridians were only damaged. "You don't have to worry too much. Fellow Daoist Gusu took my disciple's medicinal pill earlier. I'm afraid it's not quite right for her." "Oh, this Daoist magic tool should be the one you obtained from Senior Zonglangzi's cave, right?" Hee, Daoist's eyes are indeed sharp. With one look, you can tell that I was injured by a Daoist magic tool. That magic tool is Senior Zonglangzi's. Gusu Qiudi was overjoyed. When Zhai Xingzi brought the medicinal pill over, she swallowed it in one gulp. Immediately, clouds surged around her body. Wisps of righteous qi appeared out of nowhere and slowly entered her body. "My humble wife is like this. Daoist, please forgive me." Seeing Gusu Qiudi take the medicinal pill in front of Xiao Hua and heal her injuries, Zhai Xingzi was afraid that Xiao Hua would be angry and hurriedly explained. How could Xiao Hua put on airs in front of his old friend? He waved his hand and said, "Fellow Daoists, there's no need to be so polite. Fellow Daoist Gusu, the sooner you take the medicinal pill, the better. Moreover, you and I are old friends. Normally, you can just call me Daoist. Moreover, you 3 fellow Daoists came to the 1,000-demon sacred realm from afar to save me. I can see this favor clearly." "We don't dare," Zhang Daoran hurriedly replied. "Back then, we received a lot of Daoist kindness. In these hundreds of years, we didn't have the chance to repay it. Since Daoist Wenting is in trouble, how can we just stand by and watch?" Although our cultivation is limited, for fellow Daoist, we are willing to go through water and tread on fire. Damn it. It's a pity that before we could even get close to Bai Qingyu, we were schemed against by the Xianhuang order. We were almost killed by them several times. Exalted Sun Kong said with lingering fear. Zhai Xingzi also shook his head with a bitter smile. "Indeed. We were only thinking about the obstruction of the demon race in the 1,000-demon sacred realm. We never thought that the Xianhuang order of the Confucian cultivator would use the news of Daoist being suppressed to kill us. Now that I think about it, it was really dangerous. We wanted to help but were powerless. In the end, if Daoist didn't help us, we would have already lost our lives in Bai Qingyu." Zhang Daoran sighed. Xiao Hua said loudly, "There's no need for strength. It's enough as long as you have the heart. Fellow Daoists, I will remember this favor. If you have any difficulties in the future, please don't hesitate to find me." The 3 were overjoyed. This was the promise of the supreme cultivator of the 3 continents. The 3 bowed to express their thanks. When Zhai Xingzi stood up, he said somewhat embarrassedly, "Daoist, I have a presumptuous request. I hope Daoist can agree." "It's okay. Fellow Daoist, just say it. As long as I can do it." Xiao Hua was startled and hurriedly replied. Hee. Sun Kong and Zhang Daoran both laughed. Zhai Xingzi's face was red. He looked at Gusuchiodi, who was recuperating not far away, and said, Chiu has followed I for hundreds of years. Daoist disciples don't care about this, but Confucian cultivators can't. Chiu doesn't say it, but there's always a knot in her heart. I want to ask Daoist to accompany I to the Gusu family, to ask for their hand in marriage. Oh, this. Hearing this, Xiaohua's expression became extremely awkward. He shook his head and said, I'm a Daoist cultivator. Although I'm a Mahayana cultivator, it doesn't conform to the rules of Confucian cultivators. Zhai Xingzi was extremely depressed. He didn't expect Xiaohua to not agree. He could only smile and said, if Daoist feels that it's not suitable, why don't you send a disciple? Those disciples are also Daoist cultivators. They're not suitable. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, Ah. Zhai Xingzi opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Xiaohua looked at Zhai Xingzi's anxious expression and said slowly, how about this? When we return to hidden immortal continent, I'll ask a literary star to accompany you to the Gusu family to ask for their hand in marriage. How about that? What? Literary star? Zhai Xingzi was dumbstruck. He stuttered even more. Daoist knows which family head? I don't know any family head. Xiaohua smiled and said, this literary star is I's good friend. Don't worry. When the time comes, not only a literary star, but also a literary saint and great grandmaster. I will give you hundreds of them. Let's see if the Gusu family dares to not agree. Oh, right, do you still want the immortal soldiers of the Immortal Palace to open the way for you? I'll ask the Immortal Palace's true monarch to send 100,000 over, how about that? Chapter 44:15. All right. Zhai Xingzi was ecstatic to the point of being dumbstruck, and he could only nod his head vigorously. He really didn't dare to believe Xiaohua's words, but the problem was that Xiaohua was a grand ascension stage human race cultivator, so how could he be joking around with him? Cough, cough. Zhang Daoren coughed and said with a smile, forget about the immortal army from the Immortal Palace, we are Daoist cultivators. Even though Daoist is already a human Mahayana realm cultivator, Confucian cultivators are still the rulers of the hidden immortal continent. If Daoist when Xing comes out, the Gusu family will have some face, so there's no need to cause any trouble. That's right. Zhai Xingzi came to his senses and hurriedly said, Daoist when is a Daoist Mahayana realm cultivator, so it's best if you don't attract the attention of the Immortal Palace. When we return to the hidden immortal continent, we'll deal with this matter. Xiaohua was also overjoyed and he said, Confucian cultivators have 4 joys in life, which are rain after a long drought, meeting an old friend in a foreign land, the wedding night, and the nomination for the golden role. Today we've met in a foreign land, and in the future, Daoist Zhai Xingzi, this is the most joys in life. That's right. Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong both smiled as they congratulated Star Plucking Child. Meanwhile, Xiaohua's smile was filled with bitterness. He very naturally thought of Fairy Jing, a woman who had also drunk the water of forgetfulness, and also surpassed the water of forgetfulness through bitter thinking. Her experience was similar to Gusuchiodi's, but the ending was also completely different. Fellow Daoists, please wait on the side. When we return to the hidden immortal continent, I will accompany you for a chat. Xiaohua looked into the distance and saw that the 2 groups of Fortune Gate's disciples had yet to appear, but their killing intent had already soared to the sky, spreading in all directions. Xiaohua smiled and said to Zhai Xingzi and the others, yes. The 3 of them didn't dare to say anything, and they surrounded Gusuchiodi, waiting for the Fortune Gate's army to return. After half a cup of tea's time, killing intent surged like a tidal wave, and the 200,000-strong army had already appeared. At the front of the army, 2 lightning boats flew over. When they were 100 li away from Xiaohua, they stopped, and 2 groups of people flew down from the boats. Xiaohua's gaze swept over the crowd, and at the same time, there was a smile on his face, but at the same time, there was surprise in his eyes. This was because Yin Per and his clansmen from the Loi Merchant Union flew down from the left lightning ship while Xiong Yi, His Highness Lan, Daoist Master Qing Su, Venerable Master Fan Tian, Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the others flew down from the right lightning ship. When Yingpa saw Xiongyi flying out, he deliberately slowed down to let Xiongyi and the others greet Xiaohua first. Before he could even get close, Royal Highness Lan fell to his knees with tears streaming down his face. "Master, this disciple deserves to die. Please punish this disciple." Xiaohua was shocked. He raised his hand and grabbed Royal Highness Lan from a distance. Royal Highness Lan felt a flash in front of his eyes. He didn't feel anything at all. His figure had already appeared in front of Xiaohua. His heart couldn't help but tighten. "What's wrong?" Xiaohua hurriedly asked. "Did something big happen?" "Master." Xiongyi also hurriedly flew over, but he was still far away from Xiaohua. He also shouted, "This disciple also deserves to die. Master, please punish me." "What's going on?" Xiaohua had a bad feeling in his heart. "This disciple is incompetent." Xiongyi glanced at the pale-faced Royal Highness Lan and sighed inwardly. He rushed to say, "This disciple led close to 30,000 disciples to Bai Qingyu to save Master, but, on the way, we lost close to 40%. In this grand array, we lost another 10%. Close to half of the disciples have fallen. This disciple asks Master to punish him." Xiaohua raised his head and looked up at the sky. His eyes were filled with grief. He had already mentally prepared himself for this outcome. After all, the Fortune Gate's disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range couldn't be compared to the Fortune Gate's disciples in the Shenhua continent. The difference in strength was too great. At most, they were in the Golden Core realm. Coming to the 1,000 demonic sacred grounds, they weren't even enough to fill the gaps between the demonic beast race's teeth. However, the loyalty of these Fortune Gate's disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range wasn't any worse than the Fortune Gate's disciples in the Shenhua continent. They relied on these tens of thousands of disciples to rush to Bai Qingyu. Xiaohua had already used the Netherworld Origin Force to investigate. He could absorb souls that could be absorbed into the inside of the Netherworld, regardless of whether they were from the demonic beast race or the human race. However, according to Xiongyi, 40% of the disciples had died on the way to Bai Qingyu. Their souls had most likely entered the Netherworld. Xiaohua couldn't find them at all. Even if Xiaohua wanted to arrange for them to re-enter the Fortune Gate, he couldn't. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiaohua retracted his gaze and looked at Prince Lan. He asked, "What crime did you commit?" "This disciple didn't protect junior brother Changyu well." On the way to Bai Qingyu, junior brother Changyu encountered the demonic beast race. In order to save this disciple, junior brother Changyu perished together with the demonic beast race. Prince Lan didn't dare to raise his head. His upper body was prostrated in midair as he wept. "See." Xiaohua sucked in a breath of air. He couldn't believe this news. After all, he had taken in so many disciples, and none of them had died. Even during the war with the devil race in the ruins, Yuan Ya and the others didn't suffer such a tragedy. Damn it. Hearing this grievous news, Xiaohua was furious. He regretted letting Bai Qingyu, Shrouding Sky Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain go. "Tell me the cause of this matter in full detail." Xiaohua gritted his teeth and said word by word. Prince Lan complied and recounted the matter once again. It was exactly the same as what he had told Xiongyi. Hearing this, Xiaohua released his divine sense and looked in that direction. It was a pity that his battle with Bai Xian had involved too much area. The place where Changyu had died had long since disappeared. He couldn't find any traces at all. After Master left, junior brother Changyu cultivated diligently. Before he died, he was already an early nascent soul cultivator. Deep sorrow appeared on Xiongyi's face. When he came to Bai Qingyu this time, this disciple and junior brother Lan advised him not to come. "We told him to stay at the Soaring Dragon Mountain range with senior brother Li Xiang. After all, the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm is too dangerous and his strength is still shallow. But he said that Master had given him a new life. Even if he dies, he wants to die in front of Master." Sigh. Hearing this, Xiaohua felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. To be honest, his feelings for Chang Yu and Wu Tian were not as deep as Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and Li Xiang. It was even more incomparable to Lu Yi and the other disciples. However, it was these disciples who knew how to repay the kindness of a drop of water with a gushing spring. They knew how to be grateful. They knew that they would die if they came to Bai Qingyu, but they still rushed to meet their deaths. How could he repay their gratitude? Even if he had massacred Bai Qingyu and killed nearly 1 million demons, the lives of his disciples could not be redeemed. All of a sudden, Xiaohua's heart was filled with regret. He regretted all the cover-up he had done in order to uncover the mastermind. If he had stood out earlier, interrogated Shui Mingzi earlier, and rushed to Bai Qingyu earlier, Chang Yu would not have died. Nearly half of the Fortune Gate's disciples on the soaring Dragon Mountain range would not have died. Daoist Master Xiao, please restrain your grief. Seeing Xiaohua's complicated expression, Daoist Master Qing Su hurried forward and bowed. Although your sect's disciples have suffered some casualties, they died defending Daoist Master's reputation. They died in the battle with the demons. Their deaths are the victory of our human race, the price of our human race's dignity. Their deaths are great. Their deaths will certainly be recorded in the annals of history. When our Dao Gate rises in the future, their deaths will be recited by thousands of generations of Dao Gate's disciples. AI. Hearing Daoist Master Qing Su's words, Xiaohua nodded slightly. He also understood in his heart that it was too late to say anything now. Regret was useless. Moreover, regardless of whether he chose to cover it up or not, many things would still happen. Things in the world would never go according to one's thoughts. It was impossible for his disciples to never die. Wait for me to rise. Xiaohua waved his hand to let Xiong Yi and Prince Lan rise. He said solemnly, "None of you did anything wrong. What was wrong was the ambition and selfish desires of some people. You were too weak to resist the schemes of others. It was inevitable that you had to pay some price." "Yes, Master." Xiong Yi stood up, still full of guilt. Although Prince Lan's face was sad, he was happy in his heart. "How is the soaring Dragon Mountain range?" Xiaohua asked again. Xiong Yi said, "When we came here, there was nothing wrong. However, there are too many eyes and ears in the Immortal Palace. Disciples trading with the Luo Yi Merchant Union and going out for training will fall into the Immortal Palace's eyes and ears. According to the latest news from the Luo Yi Merchant Union, the Immortal Palace might be going on a crusade against the soaring Dragon Mountain range." "Master, we have to hurry back," Prince Lan hurriedly advised. "With these 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples, we won't be afraid of the Immortal Palace's crusade in the future." "Don't worry." Xiaohua nodded and said, "Wang Bianfei, Yu Zhongquan, and the others have already brought a group of disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. With them there, the soaring Dragon Mountain range will be safe. Moreover, times have changed. The Immortal Palace might not go on a crusade against the soaring Dragon Mountain range." "That's good." Xiong Yi raised his eyebrows and said, "This disciple was worried that senior brother Li Xiang would be unable to support himself in the Fortune Gate Dao Palace." After Xiong Yi finished speaking, Prince Lan pointed at Daoist Master Qing Su and said, "Master, this is Daoist Master Qing Su. Master should know them. They came to Bai Qingyu to rescue Master under the Grand Mist Ancestor's orders. However, they did not send a message to us and only arrived just before the battle began." "It's fine. It's better to have a heart than not. It's better to come than not." Xiaohua forced a smile and said, "This Xiao thanks the Grand Mist Ancestor for his concern. Daoist Qing Su, please bring this Xiao's gratitude back." "Yes, this junior will definitely do so." Daoist Master Qing Su was very happy to see Xiaohua still calling him Daoist. He bowed and said, "When this junior met senior for the first time, I already said that the ancestor has made it his mission to revitalize the Dao sect. He will treat all Dao sect's cultivators as his disciples." When this junior reported senior's matter to the ancestor attached great importance to it. Later, didn't this junior pay a special visit to senior? This time, When the ancestor heard that Senior was in trouble, he didn't hesitate and prepared to come personally. However, many of the ancestor's friends dissuaded him. They believed that if the ancestor showed himself, he would be attacked by the Immortal Palace and the Lightning Sound Temple. This was not appropriate for the Dao sect in the 3 continents. Under their death persuasion, the ancestor had no choice but to give up his original plan. That's why he sent I and a dozen other Daoists to rescue Senior. Chapter 44:16. At this point, Daoist Master Qing Su's face was filled with surprise. He looked at Xiaohua and asked tentatively, "Who knew? Senior's cultivation was actually so deep. Although we came, we couldn't help Senior at all. Moreover, we had to rely on Senior's disciples to save us." "Oh, right, Senior is probably a tribulation-passing cultivator of our human race now, right?" Xiaohua naturally understood that the tribulation Daoist Master Qing Su mentioned was different from the one on Dawn Rain mainland. He pondered for a moment and didn't hide it. He smiled and said, "I was lucky enough to have reached the Grand Ascension stage." Daoist Master Qing Su had met Xiaohua 200 years ago and had some understanding of Xiaohua's strength. He couldn't believe that Xiaohua had surpassed him by so much in just a few hundred years. Moreover, he had only met Xiaohua once before following the Fortune Gate disciples to attack the heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountain. The highest cultivation among the Fortune Gate disciples was close to the lower 8th grade. Therefore, Daoist Master Qing Su guessed that Xiaohua was a tribulation-passing cultivator. However, he still underestimated Xiaohua's strength. He couldn't help but exclaim, How is this possible?" At this point, he immediately realized that he had been rude and quickly bowed. "Senior, please don't blame me." Junior was just too surprised. Junior didn't expect Senior's cultivation to have reached the heavens. "Don't blame me, don't blame me. You and I are old acquaintances. No wonder you are surprised." Xiaohua was already numb to this kind of surprise. He smiled and waved his hand. He looked at Master Heaven Flipping Master and said, "These fellow Daoists are unfamiliar, I.O." Daoist Master Qing Su slapped his forehead and said with a smile, "I was just thinking about talking to Senior. I was so surprised by the miracle of Senior's cultivation progress that I forgot to introduce him. He is also a disciple of Ancestor. His name is Master Heaven Flipping Master. This is..." Before he could finish, Xiaohua smiled and said, "So you are Master Heaven Flipping Master. This Xiao has heard of your name for a long time, but I have never seen you before." Xiaohua's words sounded like a compliment, but in fact, there was a reason for it. That year on the Great Snow Mountain, he met Exin Exin, who had disguised herself as Exin Exin, and the little monk Ci Hui, who was the physical body of Manjushri Bodhisattva of Namo Great Wisdom, who had yet to attain fruition. They even went to look for Fan Tian Venerable together. It was at Fan Tian Venerable's abode that Xiaohua and the others met Gu Zhen, the Buddhist sect's protector. Master Heaven Flipping Master didn't know these secrets. Junior's Heaven Flipping Master greets Senior. "Senior, Junior's cultivation, how can Junior compare with Senior's cultivation with Senior?" Hee. Xiaohua smiled and nodded. He then met with the other cultivators of the Dao sect. In the end, Daoist Qing Su said respectfully, "Senior, before we came here, the ancestor said that if we succeed in the rescue, we must invite Senior to see the ancestor. Junior doesn't dare to ask Senior to go personally, but I hope Senior can agree. Once we return, we will report to Ancestor and ask Ancestor to choose a time and place to meet Senior. Now, Senior and Ancestor are the only supreme cultivators in our Dao sect. Both Seniors are the pillars of our Dao sect. The revival of our Dao sect will fall on the shoulders of both Seniors. Juniors are looking forward to the two Seniors joining hands." Xiaohua had already seen the face of the Grand Mist Ancestor when he had just arrived in the Three Mainlands. He wasn't interested in this kind of ugly cultivator, even if this cultivator had taken it upon himself to revive the Dao sect. However, Huang Xiaolong was clear that he could avoid meeting the Grand Mist Ancestor when his cultivation was still low. Now that his cultivation was on par with the Grand Mist Ancestor, he was bound to meet the Grand Mist Ancestor. Since that was the case, Xiaohua was looking forward to seeing Grand Mist Ancestors' expression when they met. You can report this to fellow Daoist Grand Mist. Xiaohua smiled and said, when we return to the hidden immortal mainland, you can arrange the meeting with Xiongyi. Many thanks, Senior. Daoist Master Qing Su was happy to hear Xiaohua agree. Since that's the case, we will take our leave and report this to Ancestor. There's no need to rush. We will go together. Xiaohua smiled and said, after all, there are many demons in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Bai Qingyu's actions will definitely attract the attention of many demon kings. If you go back alone, there will be many obstructions. And then we will respectfully accept. We will borrow Senior's reputation to avoid some dangers. Daoist Master Qing Su said with a smile, Junior will not disturb Senior. Junior will go and talk to fellow Daoist Xiongyi and fellow Daoist Lan about future matters. Xiaohua agreed with a smile and left Xiongyi and Lan with Daoist Master Qing Su and Venerable Master Qing Su. Seeing that there was no one in front of Xiaohua, Ao Zhantian hurriedly brought Su Tingzi and the other cultivators over. Before they even got close, Ao Zhantian said respectfully, Junior greets Master Xiao. Su Tingzi panicked and said in a low voice, Junior didn't know that Senior was you long. Please forgive Junior for offending you along the way. Pahong and the other cultivators apologized like Su Tingzi. They were all terrified. After all, they had said many bad things about Aoi. However, Su Tingzi was more remorseful than panic, especially when he heard Ao Zhantian call Xiaohua Master Xiao. Previously, at Yaotai Mountain, Xiaohua wanted to take him as his disciple because of Su Tingzi's help. Unfortunately, Su Tingzi was too cautious and was afraid that Xiaohua's power would bring disaster to him. Now, Su Tingzi was still at the mid-nascent soul stage, but Xiaohua was no longer at the 5th stage. How could a human Mahayana realm cultivator accept a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator as his disciple? Especially when this cultivator had rejected him directly. At this moment, Su Tingzi wished he could go back 200 years and kneel in front of Xiaohua and acknowledge him as his master. Xiaohua naturally wouldn't make things difficult for these juniors. He smiled and helped Su Tingzi and the others up. What happened in the past is already in the past. Don't mind it too much. If I wasn't with you all, I wouldn't have known about Shui Mingzi's evil intentions. Therefore, not only are you all not at fault, you all have contributed greatly. Moreover, I'm very happy that you all came to Bai Qingyu. From today onwards, all of your previous vows are null and void. Pahong and the others were even more disappointed. They wanted to serve Xiaohua for another 1,000 years. Unfortunately, Xiaohua no longer cared about the loyalty of these nascent soul stage cultivators. Actually, Pahong and the others wanted to mention serving Xiaohua, but they didn't expect Xiaohua to block their path before they could even speak. Even if they wanted to speak again, it was impossible. Many thanks, Senior. Although Pahong and the others thanked him, their tone was filled with disappointment. Just as they were about to fly to the side, Xiaohua suddenly smiled and said, I already know that you all wanted to come to Bai Qingyu to rescue me. Now that my fortune gate wants to spread its influence on the hidden immortal mainland, we need a lot of disciples. If you are willing, you can find a suitable master among my fortune gate disciples. As long as you find one, I will let them accept you as their disciples. How about it? Many thanks, Senior. Pahong and the others thanked him again. This time, their tone was filled with ecstasy. Xiaohua was already a grand ascension stage cultivator. How bad could his disciples be? Ao Zhantian and Su Tingzi, stay behind. The rest of you can go first. After I make arrangements, you all will return to the hidden immortal mainland with the Fortune Gate disciples. Xiaohua waved his hand and said. Hearing Xiaohua's words, Su Tingzi's heart was filled with joy. After Pahong and the others left, Ao Zhantian frowned and said, Master Xiao, you saw what these cultivators did. They colluded with Shui Mingzi. Although they don't have any intention of harming Master Xiao, I still feel that they are unreliable. Xiaohua nodded and smiled. I understand. I was just about to ask you, how did you deal with Shui Mingzi's matter? Of course, I killed him. Ao Zhantian said without hesitation. That bastard colluded with the ancient Bell Mountain's demonic beasts. Not only did he want to harm Master Xiao, he also coveted the Dao Gate's forces on the hidden Immortal mainland. If I don't kill him, who else should I kill? Other than him? Xiao Hua smiled and said, it seems like there are still 4 cultivators missing. And those 4 have already been persuaded by Shui Mingzi and are preparing to join the ancient Bell Mountain. When they reach Bai Qingyu, they will attack Master Xiao and nullify the blood oath they made. Ao Zhantian explained. As for the rest, they are still hesitating, so I didn't make a move. Isn't that the case? Xiaohua smiled. When faced with a life-threatening situation, anyone would have selfish thoughts. As long as they still have a conscience in their hearts, I feel that they can still be saved. Moreover, under this kind of test, I feel that I have let down the Fortune Gate's disciples and all of you, not to mention them. What's the harm in giving them another chance? AI, Senior is too kind. Ao Zhantian smiled bitterly. This junior can't do such a thing. Junior likes to be decisive when killing, and doesn't want to be sloppy. As long as there's an opportunity to make a move, I will immediately make a move. That's good. Xiaohua smiled. If I can't do it, I'll leave it to you. No problem. Ao Zhantian didn't think much about Xiaohua's words and casually agreed. However, just as he finished speaking, he suddenly understood something. He looked at Xiaohua and couldn't believe his ears. When Xiaohua nodded slightly, he turned around and knelt in the air. He kowtowed and said, Disciple Ao Zhantian greets Master. Get up. After Ao Zhantian kowtowed 9 times, Xiaohua helped Ao Zhantian up and said, Master has already taught you the Dao Gate's magic arts. Moreover, you came to Bai Qingyu to rescue Master, and you didn't forget your original intentions in the face of Shui Mingzi's temptation. Master naturally won't disappoint you. In the future, you have to deal with the Fortune Gate's affairs with Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and the others. Do more things that Master doesn't like to do. Yes, Master, disciple understands. Rest assured. Ao Zhantian had always called Xiaohua Master Xiao and had long regarded Xiaohua as his master. Now that his dream had come true, he couldn't stop smiling. Congratulations, Senior Ao. Su Tingzi's mouth was filled with bitterness as he cupped his fists and congratulated Xiaohua. Chapter 44:17. Fuck. Ao Zhantian was overjoyed. When he saw Su Tingzi congratulating him, he scolded Su Tingzi, Master asked you to stay, but didn't you follow me and fight Shui Mingzi without any regard for your life? Why don't you understand what Master means? Do you still need Master to say it out loud? Hurry up and thank Master. Ao Zhantian's words struck Su Tingzi like a bolt of lightning. He looked at Xiaohua in a daze and opened his mouth. He wanted to ask if Ao Zhantian was telling the truth, but he couldn't say anything. Fifth. Ao Zhantian kicked Su Tingzi's leg, and Su Tingzi's knees went soft, and he fell to his knees. Only then did he come to his senses. He cried and kowtowed, Disciple Su Tingzi greets Master. I was blind and missed the opportunity. Disciple thanks Master for not abandoning me. Similarly, after Su Tingzi kowtowed 9 times, Xiaohua helped him up and said with a smile, What's lost is lost. It will never return. If you hadn't stood out from the crowd that day, Master definitely wouldn't have given you another chance. However, since you've done it, the opportunity has come. Master won't say anything else. From now on, follow Ao Zhantian and take care of the affairs of the Fortune Gate. Yes, Master. Disciple understands. Su Tingzi was overjoyed but also a little ashamed. After replying, he followed Ao Zhantian to greet Xiong Yi and the other Fortune Gate disciples. Xiong Yi and the others saw Ao Zhantian and Su Tingzi formally acknowledging Xiaohua as master, and they all congratulated them with smiles. Yingpa waited for a while, but no one came forward. Xiaohua personally sent a voice transmission. Fellow Immortal Yingpa, why aren't you coming over? Only then did Yingpa rush over with a few elders. He bowed and said, Junior greets Master Xiao. Wait for me. Xiaohua looked at Yingpa's respectful attitude and the many elders behind him. He smiled and said, I'm still the same old Xiao. It's just that I'm stronger now. This is more beneficial for the cooperation between the Fortune Gate and the Fortune Gate. You don't need to think too much. Yes, Teacher Xiao will forever be our clan's Teacher Xiao. Ingpa nodded. No matter what realm you are at. Finished speaking, Ingpa hurriedly took out a beast skin and handed it to Xiao Hua. Master Xiao, Jr. has received news that the Immortal Palace may be going on a punitive expedition to the soaring Dragon Mountain range in the near future. Previously in the war, Jr. has already informed Xiongyi. However, it was too chaotic at that time, so I couldn't explain it clearly. This is the beast skin used to transmit the message. Senior, please check it carefully. Send these Fortune Gate disciples back. If the news is true, the soaring Dragon Mountain range's Fortune Gate disciples will suffer more losses. Xiaohua was very happy to see that Ingpa did not say anything and hurriedly told him about the soaring Dragon Mountain range. He took the animal skin and looked at it carefully. After calculating the time, he knew that it was not long before he left the Great Snow Mountain range. At that time, Sun Jian had not left the Shenhua continent. At this time, if there were no accidents, Sun Jian should have returned to the Immortal Palace. According to Sun Jian's knowledge, he must have reported this matter to the Immortal Emperor. How could the Immortal Emperor hastily send troops to the soaring Dragon Mountain range? Therefore, Xiaohua smiled and said, "This news was sent a long time ago. If the Immortal Palace had received the latest news from our Fortune Gate, they might not be in such a hurry to send troops to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Moreover, one day in the Immortal Palace is equivalent to 1 year on the surface. Once this news travels back and forth between the Immortal Palace and the so-called court discussion, there won't be any results for several years. At that time, we would have already returned to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Who would be afraid of them?" Teacher Xiao is right. Ingpa nodded. Junior is afraid that the Immortal Palace would not have received the exact news and send troops rashly. The soaring Dragon Mountain range's troops are insufficient at this time, which would make us regret it. Before this Xiao came to the Thousand Demons sacred domain, I had already sent my disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Xiao Hua smiled. With their cultivation of 7th or 8th grade essence force, they won't have any pressure to deal with those immortal soldiers and immortal generals. When Ingpa heard that Xiao Hua's disciples had cultivation of 8th grade essence force, a trace of envy appeared in his eyes. He smiled apologetically. If that is the case, then Junior is relieved. Junior will send my clansmen back to gather information so that I can inform Teacher Xiao of the latest situation. This matter is not urgent. Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand, asking, "Ingpa, how many of your people died this time?" "All right, Teacher Xiao knows." Ingpa smiled apologetically. "My clan is of the demon race, so coming to Bai Qingyu is not considered difficult. However, we lost 10% of our people when fighting under Bai Qingyu's command, which is 100 times better than what we expected." "When you came to Bai Qingyu, did you not plan to go back?" Xiaohua asked. Ingpa nodded. "I won't hide this matter from Teacher Xiao. What the other clansmen thought, Junior is like this. The matters of the Endless Merchant Union have already been handed over to others, but the position of Patriarch has not been pushed out." "Oh, but..." Xiaohua was startled and asked curiously. Ingpa said proudly, "Because this time, Junior is leading 6,000 clansmen. If all of them are unable to return, my clan will probably not exist in the 3 continents. Junior can choose whether or not to take the position of Patriarch." Xiao Hua's heart trembled, and he bowed. "Fellow Immortal, this Xiao will definitely repay you for your kindness." When the human Grand Ascension stage expert bowed, Ingpa and the other elders' knees went soft, and they almost fell to their knees. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over them and supported them. Ingpa could only cry out, "Teacher Xiao has done a lot for my clan. If it weren't for Teacher Xiao, my clan and the Endless Merchant Union would not exist. My clan is willing to live and die with Teacher Xiao." "Good in that case. My Fortune Gate and the Endless Merchant Union have formed a life and death alliance." Xiao Hua raised his right hand and placed it in front of Ingpa. "As long as my Fortune Gate exists, the Endless Merchant Union exists. Ing Po's eyes lit up and he slowly raised his right claw. There was still a lot of mane on his right claw, and it shone brightly in the night sky. Ing Po said, "My endless merchant union is willing to form a life and death alliance with the Fortune Gate. I, Ing Po, represent the endless merchant union and swear that as long as my endless merchant union exists, the Fortune Gate exists." The human Grand Ascension Stage expert's hand and the demonic beast's claw collided. Due to the presence of the mane, there wasn't much of a sound when they clapped hands. However, this was a promise that was as solid as gold, and a sincere alliance was formed before everyone's eyes. "Ing Po, thank your clansmen on my behalf. We're now allies, and if there's a chance in the future, we'll meet again at the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. If there's anything in the Thousand Beast Holy Realm, feel free to tell Xiong Yi or Fujiwen." Xiaohua smiled and said, "As for other matters, we'll discuss them in detail after we return to the hidden immortal continent. I'm confident that I can help you build the Endless Merchant Union into a business union that's even more powerful than the Star Plucking Tower." "Yes, Junior understands." "Junior thanks Teacher Xiao." Ing Po was ecstatic and he bowed deeply to express his gratitude. He knew that with the support of Xiaohua, a Grand Ascension Stage human cultivator, and the Fortune Gate, an unprecedented Daoist sect, how could the trade union not surpass the Star-Plucking Pavilion? Of course, Ing Po also understood that the Endless Stream Merchant Union had long been tied to the Fortune Gate. If Xiaohua and the Fortune Gate were to be attacked by Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sects, or if the ancient immortals and Buddhas joined forces to destroy the Tao, then his Endless Stream Merchant Union would not be able to survive. However, how bad could that outcome be compared to what he had prepared for the day before? "All of you, go rest on the lightning boat." Xiaohua helped Ing Po up with a smile and said, "We'll return to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range right away." "Yes." Ing Po had just gotten up when he suddenly thought of something, and he hurriedly took out a universal bracelet. After searching through it for a moment, he took out a jade eye bracelet and respectfully handed it to Xiaohua, and said, "Teacher Xiao, there's something that Junior almost forgot. It's been over 200 years, and if Teacher Xiao hadn't mentioned the Star Plucking Tower, Junior would have really forgotten about it." "What's the matter?" Xiaohua was taken aback, and he took the jade eye bracelet, but didn't immediately examine it. "All right, I'll let Teacher Xiao know." Ing Po recalled a little and answered, "That year, after Teacher Xiao left the Feather Spirit Bay, about 10 days later, a Confucian cultivator came to my Yazi auction to find Teacher Xiao. Junior was preparing for the auction, so I ignored him and pretended that I didn't know Teacher Xiao. That Confucian cultivator didn't say much, and only said that he came from the Star Plucking Tower, and that he had seen Teacher Xiao in the Star Plucking Tower, and was an old acquaintance of Teacher Xiao." Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He naturally knew that Confucian cultivator must be the mysterious Professor Dushan Jundu, so he smiled and asked, "Did that Confucian cultivator leave his name?" Ing Po shook his head and said, "Junior not only doesn't know his name, but now that I think about it, it seems that Junior can't remember his appearance. If Junior hadn't seen Teacher Xiao, Junior really wouldn't have remembered this matter." "What else did he say?" Xiaohua was even more certain in his heart, and asked, "You couldn't have also forgotten, right?" Ing Po's eyes revealed surprise. Junior remembers everything he said even more clearly. He gave this jade eye bracelet to Junior, and said that Junior must give it to Teacher Xiao. He also said that this matter is very important to him. Oh, right, he also asked Junior to say something to Teacher Xiao. "What is it?" Xiaohua's brows were tightly knitted, and he was rather puzzled. "This is your last chance, and you are his only hope." Ing Po looked at Xiaohua, and said each word clearly. His tone was very serious, as if Dushan Jun had said it to Xiaohua face to face. Xiaohua was shocked, and hurriedly asked, "Ing Po, do you know about the Star Moon Palace?" "I know." Ing Po nodded. "This kind of ancient ruin is very famous in the 3 continents. How could Junior not know?" At this point, Ing Po somewhat understood, and said with a smile, "Is Senior talking about the appearance of the Star Moon Palace this time? Damn it." Xiaohua already knew what was recorded in the jade eye bracelet, And he was also very sure that the person who went to the Luo Yi Merchant Union to look for him was undoubtedly Du Shanjun. He slightly thought about it and then secretly cursed. Previously at the Star Plucking Tower in Yuling Bay, Zhong Qiao once said that the Star Moon Palace might open within 200 years. However, this is only a guess. Perhaps 2,000 years is also possible. Looks like the Star Moon Palace hasn't opened yet. Du Shanjun is urging me to go to the Star Moon Palace to keep the appointment. Chapter 44:18. As expected, Ingpa continued. Although the Star Moon Palace is an ancient ruin that many humans and demons in the 3 continents know about, the news of the Star Moon Palace's appearance is extremely secretive. Everyone wants to snatch the right to enter the Star Moon Palace. Everyone wants to search for opportunities in the Star Moon Palace. Once any human or demon obtains the news, they won't tell anyone else. It is only in the recent decades that the continuous merchant union has grown bigger and bigger, and the information it has obtained has also increased. This junior is qualified to know some of the Star Moon Palace's secrets. However, even so, Junior only knows that the Star Moon Palace may appear in the Thousand Demons' Sacred Territory's easternmost region in a few months. As for the specific location and time, Junior is not particularly clear. Hearing this, Xiaohua hesitated. He had thought that the Star Moon Palace had opened long ago, so he had thrown the matter of the Star Moon Palace to the back of his mind. According to his plan, he was prepared to bring the 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples back to the hidden Immortal mainland. However, the Star Moon Palace was about to open, and he had previously made an agreement with Do Shanjun to follow him into the Star Moon Palace. Thus, he had no choice but to give up on returning to the hidden Immortal mainland and head to the Thousand Demons' Sacred Territory's easternmost region. Of course, Xiaohua was hesitant because he had returned to the 3 continents in a high-profile manner. First, he had defeated the 4 Sea Dragon Kings and destroyed the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Then he had defeated the demonic beast race's 3 great sages and massacred by Qingyu. This would definitely attract the attention of the Immortal Palace. He could not guarantee that Sun Wu would be able to persuade the Immortal Emperor to not attack the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. If he went to the Star Moon Palace, the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range might be destroyed. As for whether he would go to the Star Moon Palace, he did not hesitate at all. This was because Do Shanjun's help to him was simply too great. Not to mention the lightning cultivation method, not to mention the Crimson Infant technique, just the darkness breaking pill, void bearing pill, lotus connecting pill, and jade heaven pill that Do Shanjun had given Xiaohua in the stargazing pavilion in Yuling Bay, as well as the pill formulas that they had refined, had played an extremely crucial role in Xiaohua's cultivation. The darkness breaking pill was a necessary pill to break through the bottleneck of the nascent soul realm and enter the spirit severing realm. The void-bearing pill was used to break through to the void refinement realm, the lotus connecting pill was used to break through to the unity realm, and the jade heaven pill was used to break through to the Ma Ascension realm. Without these medicinal pills, Xiaohua would have wasted the 20,000 years in the heavenly prison, and it would be impossible for him to reach the Deshang stage at this time. Moreover, Do Shanjun had already made it clear that he would not let Xiaohua do anything that went against Xiaohua's conscience. In fact, the most reassuring thing for Xiaohua was that Do Shanjun's words had revealed some secrets. The Grand Mist Ancestor, who was currently in the limelight, seemed to have received Do Shanjun's help, and the Grand Mist Ancestor did not repay Do Shanjun in the end. Even so, Do Shanjun did not withdraw his help to the Grand Mist Ancestor, nor did he punish the Grand Mist Ancestor. Do Shanjun was so magnanimous, presumably he wouldn't have any schemes against Xiaohua. Xiaohua was also willing to work for such a person. In particular, the words that Do Shanjun asked Ingbo to bring to Xiaohua caused Xiaohua's hesitation to quickly turn into a decision. Xiaohua understood that Do Shanjun's remarkable abilities far exceeded his imagination. Even though he was already a Deshang stage cultivator, he still had not completely comprehended the jade slip that Do Shanjun gave him. That Crimson Infant technique still had a large part of it that he did not understand. Previously, when Xiaohua was in the spirit severing stage, he might not have understood, but now that he was a supreme cultivator of the three mainlands, how could he not know that this crimson infant technique was definitely not a cultivation technique from the cultivation world? In other words, Dou Shanjun was definitely not a cultivator from the cultivation world. He must have come from the upper realm. Of course, whether this upper realm was the ruins or the desolate continent that Xiaohua had been to before, Xiaohua did not know. Since that was the case, Xiaohua could infer that if there were no rules of the three mainlands, Dou Shanjun's strength would far surpass his by a lot. Xiaohua himself knew how to predict the future, and he would have some enlightenment on a whim. Then Dou Shanjun would definitely have an even more mysterious technique to divine the future. In that case, Dou Shanjun did not put that sentence in the jade eyes, and instead asked Ingpo to bring it to him. It meant that he wanted Xiaohua to take it seriously. Xiaohua even vaguely felt that the Dou Shanjun from 200 years ago should have already divined that only Ingpo could bring the jade eyes to him 200 years later, which was why he paid a visit to Ingpo. Dou Shanjun had already taken it seriously, and had already made it clear that this was his last chance, and Xiaohua was also his only hope, so how could Xiaohua not fulfill his promise? Xiaohua made a decision, and then smiled as he thought, even if Sun Jian can't persuade Immortal Emperor Gaochen, isn't there still Xin Xian in the Immortal Palace? With such a big commotion in the soaring Dragon Mountain range, how could she not know? With a little advice from her, Immortal Emperor Gaochen will definitely think about it, and he will definitely understand the importance of this shout to Confucian cultivators. The so-called true Confucian, isn't it to search for the 5 Qis unifications cultivation technique, to search for the foundation of Xiantian true Qi? At this time, Ingpo smiled and said, Master Xiao, in this junior's opinion, now that Master Zhao's cultivation is so profound, I'm afraid there's no need for you to go to the Star Moon Palace. On the other hand, the Fortune Gate's 7th and 8th grade disciples need to go to the Star Moon Palace to try their luck. Opportunities? Xiaohua smiled. In terms of opportunities, could the Star Moon Palace compare to the ruins and the desolate continent? The opportunities that Lu Yi and the others had in the upper realm were many times more than the Star Moon Palace. Xiaohua's own accumulation in the upper realm was only completed at the moment of life and death. Lu Yi and the others didn't know how long it would take for them to fully comprehend those accumulations, so there was really no need for them to go to the Star Moon Palace. Thus, Xiaohua replied, it's a pity that they've already rushed back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range, so I'm afraid they don't have time to go to the Star Moon Palace. That's true. Ingpo slapped his own forehead and smiled. The soaring Dragon Mountain range might be attacked by the Immortal Palace. This junior forgot about that. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart moved, and he asked again, what about nascent soul cultivators? Are they suitable to go to the Star Moon Palace? Of course they're suitable. Ingpo smiled and said, the 7th or 8th grade essence force that this junior mentioned in the previous 3 continents referred to the Confucian cultivators and the demonic beast race. How could there be 7th or 8th grade essence force cultivators in the Dao sect? Only 3rd or 4th grade essence force cultivators would go. It's just that there are very few Dao sect cultivators who know this kind of secret information. Alright. Xiaohua nodded and said, ask the elders in the clan to return to the Thunder ship first, I have something to tell you. Seeing that Xiaohua had something to entrust to him, Ingpo was extremely happy and led the elders back to the Thunder ship. After Ingpo left, Xiaohua asked Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the other nascent soul disciples to come over. After thinking for a while, he also called Zhai Xingzi and the others over. Everyone didn't know what was going on, so they stood at the side and listened respectfully. After Ingpo returned, Xiaohua spoke, I have something to discuss with all of you, and I want to hear your opinions. Xiong Yi was surprised. He glanced at Prince Lan and the others and said, Master, please speak. Zhai Xingzi exchanged glances with Zhang Daran and nodded. Spiritual Master, please speak. Xiaohua told them about the Star Moon Palace, and finally said, I'm preparing to head to the extreme east of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to explore the Star Moon Palace, and I want to ask your opinions if you're willing to go together. Of course, I don't need to say more about the dangers of the Star Moon Palace, all of you should know. Therefore, if I can protect all of you in the Star Moon Palace, I will definitely do so. If I can't, then it means that your fate hasn't arrived. Master, Prince Lon hurriedly asked, if we go to the Star Moon Palace, what about the Fortune Gate's disciples? Do you want Black Bear and the others to bring them back? Xiaohua shook his head and said, Black Bear, White Lion, and Golden Eagle are from the demonic beast race. They can lead the troops for a while, but they can't bring them back. I'm planning to let spiritual master Jingting and Xianxia bring them back to the hidden immortal mainland, but they aren't good at commanding troops. I want to invite Ing Pur of the Flowing Merchant Union to be the military advisor. Hearing Xiaohua's words, Prince Lan's mind started to work. The current situation was obvious. The Fortune Gate's disciples that Xiaohua brought back were much stronger than the Fortune Gate's disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range. In the future, the Fortune Gate's overall situation would be controlled by these disciples. Furthermore, Xiaohua wasn't interested in the sex affairs. Everything would be left to the disciples to handle. Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and Li Xiang's positions would definitely change in the future. The era where they could give orders to the Fortune Gate's people was gone forever. If they wanted to occupy a place in the Fortune Gate in the future, other than strength, they would need to command troops and wield authority. Prince Lan was well aware that no matter how great the opportunity in the Star Moon Palace was, it was impossible for him to advance to the 7th grade in one go. Even if he really reached the 7th grade, there were still Lu Yi, Yu Zhongquan, and the others above him. He wouldn't have any chance to stand out in the Fortune Gate. The path of cultivation was already bleak, so the only path left was to command troops and wield authority. Right now, in front of Prince Lan, it was an excellent opportunity. These 200,000 Fortune Gate's disciples didn't seem to be familiar with the 3 mainlands. Xiaohua wasn't particularly familiar with and trusted the disciples at the 7th or 8th grade. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Daoist Jingting and Xianxia lead the troops. He even let Ing Pe from the demonic beast clan be his advisor. If Prince Lan took advantage of this opportunity to command troops, not only would he be able to build a good relationship with the disciples at the 7th or 8th grade, he would also be able to occupy a better position before the new Fortune Gate structure was clear. Moreover, Prince Lan was looking forward to the Immortal Palace's punitive expedition. He understood that the immortal soldiers and generals that could come on the expedition were at the 4th grade at most. In front of these 200,000 ferocious beasts, they were just appetizers. If he could command troops, it would be a great merit. When Xiong Yi returned from the Star Moon Palace, how could Xiong Yi be ranked ahead of him? It could be said that this was the opportunity that Prince Lan had been dreaming of. As for the opportunity in the Star Moon Palace, Prince Lan could see clearly. Not to mention the risks, the so-called opportunity might not be much better than the Fortune Gates. Not to mention, with the authority to command troops and speak in the sex affairs, he would also have cultivation resources. In fact, he wouldn't have to worry about his cultivation speed falling behind others. Who knew, he might even surpass the disciples who had entered the Star Moon Palace in the future. Chapter 44:19. Thinking of this, Prince Lan glanced at Xiong Yi, who was about to speak, and quickly volunteered. He bowed and said, Master, Disciple has known about the Star Moon Palace for a long time, but Disciple has never had the opportunity to go there. Now that Master has placed this opportunity in front of Disciple, Disciple is really excited. However, compared to the Fortune Gate's affairs, Disciple feels that Disciple's opportunity is far less important than the Fortune Gate's development. Only when the Fortune Gate thrives can Disciple obtain more opportunities. Therefore, Disciple has decided Disciple will give up this opportunity to solve Master's problem. Disciple will bring these disciples back to the Soaring Dragon Mountain range to resist the Immortal Palace's invasion. Xiaohua was taken aback. He was indeed having a headache about the 200,000 soldiers returning, but it was not as serious as Prince Lan had said. After all, there were still some high-level disciples among the 200,000 soldiers. With them around, there would not be any trouble. As for the problems they would encounter along the way, Ingpo was more than enough to deal with them. That being said, hearing that Prince Lan was willing to give up his opportunity to contribute to the fortune gate, Xiaohua was overjoyed. He smiled and asked, Prince Lan, have you really decided? Disciple feels that not only Disciple thinks so, senior brother Xiong-yi probably thinks so too. Prince Lan respectfully said, after all, on the hidden immortal mainland, our Dao Gate's disciples were bullied by Confucian cultivators. It is not easy for the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's fortune gate to grow to such a scale. Disciple and the others are not willing to turn this into nothingness. Indeed. Xiong-yi also spoke. Disciple is also willing to bring these disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain Range and let senior brother Li Xiang rush to the Star Moon Palace. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, Master is comforted to have disciples like you. As long as you sincerely cooperate and help our fortune gate, there will be more opportunities like the Star Moon Palace in the future. Subsequently, Xiaohua sent a voice transmission to Prince Lan. Also, you should remember where Changyu died, right? When Prince Lan heard this, he was stunned for a moment before replying, Yes, Master, disciple will never forget that place. You should also know the demonic beast race that perished together with Changyu. Of course. Prince Lan seemed to understand what Xiaohua wanted to say and nodded his head firmly. There was a trace of joy to be seen in his eyes. Good, kill them and avenge your junior brother. Xiaohua ordered coldly. Then, with a wave of his hand, he took out a bottle of pills and a jade eye pendant from his bosom and handed them to Prince Lan. He said, This is Master's reward for you. I won't say the names of the cultivation methods and medicinal pills. You can comprehend them yourself first. If you feel that the time is right, you can take the medicinal pills. I guarantee that you will be able to break through to the middle stage of nascent soul before I return. Master will to help you break through to late stage. His Highness Lan was overjoyed. He originally wanted to decline and express his noble character and unquestionable integrity, but he remembered that Xiaohua didn't like empty formalities, so he hurriedly took it and said, Thank you, Master. Since Prince Lan is willing to lead the troops, there is no need for Xiong-yi to stay. To go to the to leave. To go to the heaven to and to go. To go time, to gather time, to the ascento the head to head. To head to head. To place. Yes. Xiong-yi nodded and handed the items to Prince Lan before flying to the thunder ship. Xiaohua turned to Ying-pu and said, You don't have to be the military advisor. You can go to your own demon realm with the army. Junior doesn't have any demon realm. Ying-pu smiled bitterly. Junior will bring my clansmen to the ascento, the ascento. And that's fine. Your clansmen can settle down in the ascento. Xiaohua smiled and said to Xianxia and spiritual master Jingting, You two will be Prince Lan's assistants. You must protect him well. Don't let him get hurt. Yes, disciple understands. Xianxia and spiritual master Jingting bowed. Disciple will definitely protect junior brother Lan. Prince Lan was truly happy with his wise decision. He smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you, senior martial brothers. What about you? Xiaohua looked at Ao Zhantian and the other disciples. The Star Moon Palace was a great opportunity. How could Ao Zhantian and the other disciples not agree? They all nodded happily. After settling the matters in the Fortune Gate, Xiaohua asked Zhang Daoran and the others, What about fellow Daoists? Junior is willing to go. Zhai Xingzi was the first to speak. But I don't know if Qiu can go with her injuries. It's fine as long as you want to go. Her injuries aren't a problem. At most, you won't go. Xiaohua smiled. After all, not everyone has the opportunity to enter. However, fellow Daoist's wedding night will have to be pushed back. Fuck. Only a fool wouldn't go with such a great opportunity. Venerable Master Sun Kong shouted. Go. It's the wedding night. Who knows if they've already been singing every night? After saying that, Venerable Master Sun Kong realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly said to Prince Lan, Fellow Daoist Prince Lan, I'm not talking about you. After all, we don't have your noble character and unquestionable integrity. When Venerable Master Sun Kong, who was at the 5th grade of Origin Energy, called him fellow Daoist, and even mentioned the noble character and unquestionable integrity that he wanted to flaunt, Prince Lan knew that he had made the right choice. He smiled and said, "There's no need to mention noble character and unquestionable integrity. It's my duty as a disciple to make some sacrifices for the sect." Venerable Master Sun Kong gave Prince Lan a thumbs up to express his appreciation. Prince Lan didn't mind, but Jai Xingzi's face was so red that it was about to drip blood. After all, the so-called singing every night had a double meaning. "Very well, since everyone is willing, you all can stand to the side." Xiaohua smiled and glanced at everyone. He then said, "In a bit, follow this old man." Xiaohua raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Tong! A thunderous sound rang out. True Qi rushed out, and he flew up into the night sky. Soon after, Xiaohua's body flashed with lightning, and his body suddenly expanded to more than 1,000 zhang tall. High up in the sky, in the space of 100 li, all kinds of thunder rumbled, and thick lightning bolts swam in the night sky like a horned dragon. Not only that, under the horned dragon, Xiantian True Qi condensed into the shape of an auspicious cloud, and all kinds of colored pearls appeared everywhere, protecting Xiaohua's golden color. Looking at Xiaohua's feet, the pillars of light from the stars and moon that originally descended from the sky once again appeared from the void, transforming into spirals that supported Xiaohua, and even transformed into halos that swam up and down within the pearls. When Xiaohua slightly released his Mahayana aura, a supreme aura that was not inferior to immortal Emperor Go-Qin and Mahavairakana's aura enveloped an area of 1,000 miles. "Disciples!" Xiaohua's voice was like a thunderclap. His avatar was like a god. With just a whisper, all 200,000 disciples knelt down and said in unison, "Disciples are here. Beast King Bai Qingyu bullied my fortune gate and suppressed my avatar. You defeated Bai Qingyu and your morale soared. The heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountains surrendered without a fight, handing over the 2 demon domains to my fortune gate." Xiaohua added, "This is my glory, and the glory of all my disciples. From today onward, there will be another invincible army on the 3 mainlands. Our Fortune Gate's great army will be invincible wherever it goes. Whether it's the demon race or the human race, anyone who dares to stand in my way will be killed." Kill, 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 kill. Hundreds of thousands of Fortune Gate disciples killing intent soared into the night sky like rainbows. In the southern part of the night sky, the 7 merciless stars' radiance suddenly shone brightly, as if it wanted to illuminate the entire starry sky. At the same time as the 7 merciless stars' radiance, swish, 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 another 6 rays of starlight shone brightly. They were the Tianfu star, Tianliang star, Tianji star, Tiantong star, and Tianxiang star beside the 7 merciless star. The 6 stars of the Southern Dipper lit up the entire southern part of the night sky. Kill! The stars and moon's radiance were invisible, but it dyed the entire 1,000 demons' sacred grounds. The Fortune Gate's disciples were confused, and their auras surged as they shouted again. Boom! This time, the stars in the sky lit up at the same time. The entire 1,000 demons' sacred grounds was as bright as day, and countless pillars of starlight fell on a certain spot in the 1,000 demons' sacred grounds. Oh! Xiaohua was slightly taken aback. The pillars of starlight fell in the same direction as the Feng Wu, golden-winged Great Pang, and the others. If he guessed correctly, it should be where the Great Holy Hall was. When Xiaohua saw that only the Big Dipper wasn't lit up, a smile appeared on his face. Damn it, this must be the Feng Wu's doing. I wonder what kind of fortuitous encounter he had in the Great Holy Hall. Disciples! Xiaohua's voice resounded in the starlight. When the heavens emit killing intent, the stars move. When the earth emits killing intent, dragons and snakes rise. When the humans emit killing intent, heaven and earth overturn. When my Fortune Gate emits killing intent, the 3 mainlands tremble. Today, my Fortune Gate has risen, and the heavens have changed. Today, All of you are escorting the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples back to the Fortune Dao Palace. With Daoist Zhao's orders, all of you shall exterminate anyone who dares to harm my disciples. Anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. We know that anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. Anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. The group of disciples roared, and their voices surged out in all directions like a tidal wave. Although they didn't know if the demonic beasts could hear them, Daoist Master Qing Su, Venerable Master Fan Tian, and the others paled. They had never seen such an iron-blooded army. Black Bear, White Lion, Golden Condor, where are you? Seeing the unprecedented momentum of the Fortune Gate's disciples, Xiaohua smiled and ordered. Black Bear and the other two demonic beasts didn't understand, but they still stepped out and knelt in the air. Master, we are here. What orders do you have for us? Although you are demonic beasts, you are loyal to my Fortune Gate. You have already submitted to me in the Black Wind Mountain Range. Now, my Fortune Gate has conquered the Bai Qingyu, Ancient Bell Mountain, and Shrouded Sky Ridge. This is my Fortune Gate's foundation in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. I hereby order you all to guard the Black Bear Beast King, the White Lion Beast King, and the Golden Condor Beast King on my behalf, and become the backbone of my Fortune Gate. Xiaohua ordered. You can recruit disciples in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, or you can bring the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's demonic beasts over. You can make all the decisions. Chapter 44:20. Thank you, Master. This lowly one thanks Master. The White Lion and Golden Eagle were overjoyed hearing this. A beast king of a generation, this was something they had never dared to imagine. That day on the Black Wind Ridge, they had called themselves beast kings, but that was just arrogance. But today, 200,000 disciples had passed by, and all the fruits of victory were theirs to reap. This was their reward for their loyalty to the Fortune Gate. Master! The Black Bear hesitated for a moment, then kowtowed. This lowly one has never been ambitious. This lowly one does not want to be a beast king. This lowly one only wants to guard Master's cultivation dwelling. His granny. Xiaohua did not expect the Black Bear to abandon Bai Qingyu, nor did he expect the Black Bear spirit to be so loyal to him. He would rather not be a beast king or a feudal lord than follow him. Xiaohua was touched, but at the same time, he was a little passive. However, a moment later, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly sent a voice transmission to the Black Bear. The Black Bear was stunned for a moment, then he hesitated for a moment before saying righteously, Moreover, this lowly one feels that this lowly one is Master's gatekeeper, so it is only right for this lowly one to work for Master, and should not receive any rewards. The Flowing Merchant Union's patriarch Ing Bo led his entire tribe to help our Fortune Gate, and they also had a share in trampling Bai Qingyu. This lowly one is willing to give Bai Qingyu to the Ing Bo tribe, and make this place their demon territory. Hearing those words, the distant Ing Po was greatly shocked. However, he was both surprised and delighted. Although the Flowing Merchant Union had grown stronger, the Ing Bo tribe's overall strength was still weak, and they could not win a place in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Furthermore, the demon realms of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm varied in size, but no matter how big or small they were, they all had demon kings, mountain lords, and so on. These demon kings and mountain lords all had the support of even more powerful demon clans, and all of these forces could be traced back to the 6 great saints of the Great Sage Temple. Therefore, if there were no accidents, it would be extremely difficult for the Ing Bo tribe to obtain a demon territory in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Although Xiaohua had made it clear that he wanted to invite the Ing Bo tribe to the soaring Dragon Mountain Range, the Ing Bo tribe was still a demonic beast clan. However, Ing Bo's clansmen were demonic beast clansmen. They could stay in the soaring Dragon Mountain Range for a while, but they couldn't stay there forever. Moreover, they couldn't stay under the Fortune Gate's protection forever. Therefore, Ing Po was still willing to establish himself in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. However, Ing Po had never imagined that Bai Qingyu would fall into his lap, Because the Fortune Gate's disciples were too powerful. Any random Fortune Gate disciple with a cultivation of grade 7 origin Qi realm had the ability to annihilate his entire clan. Moreover, his clan had not obtained any battle merits from the battle with Bai Qingyu, so why should he ask Xiao Hua to bestow Bai Qingyu to him? Therefore, the Black Bear's suggestion stunned Ing Pe. He didn't understand why the Black Bear spirit, whom he didn't know, would take such good care of him. Of course, Xiao Hua's words made Ing Pe understand. This was because Xiao Hua pondered for a moment before saying with a smile, "Black Bear, you're right. To resist foreign aggression, one must first pacify internal strife. To reward internal strife, one must reward external strife." This old man was wrong. Ing Pe, Bai Qingyu will be bestowed to you today as a place for your people to live and reproduce. Are you willing? Hearing this, how could Ing Pe not know that this was Xiao Hua's intention? He originally wanted to decline, but seeing that He Xiong had already declined, if he continued to decline, Xiao Hua's face would not be good. Furthermore, he himself really wanted to find a place for his clansmen to settle down, so he knelt down without hesitation and said, "Ing Bo thanks Teacher Xiao on behalf of my clansmen." Just as Ing Po's words fell, all of Ing Po's people on the lightning boat knelt down and cried, "This little one thanks Master Xiao. We will forever be loyal to Master Xiao. We will never betray him." Master? The Golden Condor and White Lion were dumbfounded. They didn't expect the Black Bear to not want to be a Beast King. Wouldn't that mean that one of the 3 Beast Kings was missing? They hurriedly wanted to say something, but Xiao Hua smiled faintly and said, "From now on, the heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountain will be my Fortune Gate's foundation. Your task is difficult. Don't tell me you want to decline?" The Golden Condor and White Lion's hearts trembled, and they hurriedly answered, "We bear Master's heavy responsibility. We will do our best until our last breath." Good. Xiao Hua nodded and said, "Discuss this matter with His Highness Lan." The 3 demonic beasts stood up and retreated to the side. Xiao Hua looked at the 1,000 demonic sacred grounds that was as bright as day. Then he pointed in the direction of the hidden immortal mainland and said, pointing the sword at the hidden immortal mainland, "Whoever dares to block my army along the way, kill them all." "Yes, Master." All of the Fortune Gate's disciples stood up and shouted in unison. Then the 2 lightning boats rumbled and Ing Pe and the others flew up to the lightning boats. On the lightning boat, His Highness Lan shouted in high spirits, "Fortune Gate's disciples, listen to my command, set out." Boom boom. The lightning boats flickered with lightning, competing with the starlight in the sky. On the lightning boat, His Highness Lan bowed and said, "Master, this disciple is going." "Go, be careful on the way." Xiao Hua nodded and smiled as he looked at the hundreds of thousands of Fortune Gate's disciples, Ing Po's people, and some dragons and humans in an orderly manner, flying in the direction Xiao Hua pointed out. After the disciples left, Xiao Hua withdrew his avatar, leaving Zhai Xingzi and the others in the sky. At this time, Xiong Yi flew over and asked in a low voice, "Master, why are you pointing to the east? That is not where my soaring dragon mountain range is located." Is it wrong?" Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and said while rubbing his nose, "It's also the hidden immortal mainland. His Highness Lan can go as he pleases. He will definitely find the way back to the soaring dragon mountain range." "But," Xiong Yi said in a low voice, "that direction is where junior brother Chang Yu died." "Heaven's will." Xiao Hua's eyes turned cold, and he said, "Those who dared to kill my Fortune Gate's disciples must pay the price." "Yes, this disciple understands." Xiong Yi nodded and pointed at the several thousand golden core disciples in the distance and reported, "These are the 8,111 golden core disciples I brought from the soaring dragon mountain range." "Why are there so many golden core disciples?" Xiao Hua was a little surprised. After all, in his impression, the hidden immortal mainland's Dao Gate had withered. How could there be so many golden core disciples in the soaring dragon mountain range? "Good, Father understands." Xiong explained. After Master left, this disciple discussed with senior brother Li Xiang, junior brother Lan, and junior brother Chang Yu. "Our soaring dragon mountain range covers a large area and there is abundant heaven and earth origin energy. Not to mention several tens of thousands of disciples, even hundreds of thousands of disciples can be accommodated. Therefore, the Fortune Gate's disciples regard recruiting disciples as the most important thing to do. Every year, disciples will be sent to villages and other places to look for children with excellent aptitudes. It's very strange, in these 100 years, the hidden immortal mainland's weather has changed greatly. The 9 prefectures often have disasters, there are many mediocre officials in the Confucian government, and there are many disaster victims everywhere. Wherever our Fortune Gate's disciples go, not only do we recruit disciples, we also take out enough good seeds to help the disaster victims cultivate. The villagers are all willing to give their children to our Fortune Gate. Moreover, the method Master left behind to select disciples is also very powerful. The so-called spiritual roots technique is very useful, as those who have spiritual roots are all very talented. Their cultivation speed is several times faster than the average disciple, so 200 years is enough for many disciples to step into the golden core realm. Xianxia habitually waved his hand as he said, "Our soaring Dragon Mountain range, according to Master's custom before he left, recruits about 10,000 disciples every year. However, because of the recruitment of disciples, the transactions with the Luo-E Merchant Union, and the disciples going to other places in the hidden immortal mainland to recruit Foundation Establishment and Golden Core Realm disciples, the movement is quite big, attracting the attention of Confucian families and immortal palaces. In the past few decades, there are often Confucian cultivators coming to visit our soaring Dragon Mountain range, so this disciple and the others slowed down the expansion of the Fortune Gate. In the past 200 years, we have recruited a total of 1.6 million disciples. Not bad. Xiaohua praised, your ability in this aspect is much stronger than Master's. Although he said so, Xiaohua was clear in his heart that the Xinhua continent could not be compared to the 3 mainlands. The Xinhua continent was purely starting from scratch, and the number of humans in the 3 mainlands was absolutely terrifying. This was because the Dao Gate was suppressed by Confucian cultivators on the hidden immortal mainland. If there were no restrictions with the Fortune Gate situation, it would not be a problem to recruit 100,000 disciples every year. Of course, it was precisely because the Dao Gate was not prosperous and the threshold for Confucian cultivators was too high that the Fortune Gate could casually recruit talented disciples on the hidden immortal mainland. Master doesn't know, there are too many disaster victims, and they are fighting to give their children to our Fortune Gate so that they can have food to eat. Xianxia smiled bitterly, so in the end, this disciple and the others have already become a minor detail, and the distribution of grain seeds is the most important task. In the soaring Dragon Mountain range, there are many places where grain seeds are planted, and they have to be sent out every year. Not bad. Xiaohua nodded again. Our Fortune Gate's mission is to save the world. We would rather not have disciples and not develop, but save the common people. Disciple, you have done well. Master, it's good that you say so. Xianxia nodded. Then this disciple can rest assured. Oh, Xiaohua asked curiously, could it be that the 4 of you have different opinions? It's not convenient for this disciple to say, Master will know when you return to the Fortune Dao Palace. Xianxia did not say much and only pointed out, this disciple's opinions are not quite the same, but all of us are thinking for our Fortune Gate. Xiaohua nodded again. Xianxia said proudly, but, Master, people often say that good people will be rewarded well. Although this disciple does not wish to recruit disciples, the disciples that our Fortune Gate recruits are all outstanding. Among the 1,600,000 disciples, there are more than 400,000 Foundation Establishment, Enlightened, and Fusion Stage disciples with first-grade Essence Force, 600,000 Heart-Moved disciples with second-grade Essence Force, and 500,000 Tranquil Spirit Stage disciples with second-grade Essence Force, 300,000 disciples with second-grade Essence Force. The composition of the Fortune Gate's disciples is a little strange. Xiaohua laughed. I'm afraid this kind of situation can only happen in our Fortune Gate during this period. Chapter 44:21. Xiongyi nodded respectfully and said with a smile, "Indeed. Normally, when a Dao sect established a country, there would be a nascent soul imperial advisor or a golden core imperial advisor. Below them, there would be dozens of so-called disciples. Under these disciples, there would be dozens of disciples. Below these disciples, there would be hundreds of disciples. However, our Fortune Gates disciples do not have any bottlenecks at grade 1. From integrating with the Fortune Gate to the heart movement realm, everything is as smooth as flowing water. In the past, we also wanted our disciples to give pointers to the new disciples, but there was not much difference in their cultivation speed. In the end, we simply let our disciples give pointers to the new disciples for the first 10 years or so, and then, when their cultivation realm was high enough, we would recruit new disciples. In addition, we did not dare to recruit more disciples in recent decades, so now our Fortune Gates disciple structure is like a spindle, thin on both sides and thick in the middle. Many heart-intent disciples who have reached grade 2 have no disciples. Xiaohua was used to the training and foundation building realms, so when he heard Xiongyi talk about foundation building, consecration, and fusion, he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Fortunately, when Xiongyi was explaining, he also mentioned the grade of his elemental energy, so he could at least understand. Xiaohua frowned and said, "Disciple, didn't Master give you a new cultivation technique when I left? Those are the Qi refining and foundation establishment realms. Did you not teach them?" Master." Xiongyi slapped his forehead and said, "Disciple was a little confused. Disciple has followed Master's cultivation technique to the newly recruited disciples. Only the disciples who entered our Fortune Gate later use Master's modified cultivation technique. But because Disciple has been using foundation establishment, light illumination, and integration since young, Disciple can't help but lean towards that direction. It is easy to impart cultivation techniques, but changing one's mindset is really difficult. Xiaohua sighed. Disciple was wrong, but Master does not need to worry. Xiongyi smiled and said, "Our Fortune Gates disciples use Qi refining and foundation establishment realms. Only Disciple can't change." Alright, go on. Xiaohua himself was not used to the hidden Immortal mainland's cultivation system. Of course, he could not force Xiongyi and the others to correct it immediately. "Yes, Master." Xiongyi continued, "Before coming to the Thousand Demons' sacred grounds, our Fortune Gate had over 23,000 Golden Core Realm disciples. Among them, 2,000 mid- and late-stage Golden Core Realm disciples joined the Fortune Gate later. This includes this disciple, senior brother Li Xiang, and martial uncle Lan's disciples. Senior brother Li Xiang stayed behind to guard the soaring Dragon Mountain range, leaving behind 5,000 Golden Core disciples. Junior brother Lan, junior brother Changyu, and I have brought a total of 18,300 Golden Core disciples and 10,000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Along the way, we lost 50% of our disciples, and half of our Golden Core disciples and Foundation Establishment disciples. Oh? How come the number of Jindan disciples and Foundation Establishment disciples are equal?" Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled, because according to common sense, it should be the Foundation Establishment disciples that were injured more. Xiongyi bit his lip and said, "That's because core formation disciples have to protect Foundation Establishment disciples. When they encounter danger, they let Foundation Establishment disciples go first. What a good disciple." Xiaohua also sighed, deeply moved. Therefore, before the war, there were only 4,000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples and 10,221 Golden Core disciples left. Xiongyi continued, "During the Great Battle, although there were disciples led by Master, there were still many casualties. Most of them were Golden Core disciples. Those Foundation Establishment disciples didn't fly as fast as Golden Core disciples, so they didn't fight as much with the demons. Now, there are only 8,111 Golden Core disciples left?" Xiaohua asked. Xiongyi nodded. "Yes, there are still 3,607 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples." "Good," Xiaohua said, then turned to Black Bear and said, "Black Bear, Quickly catch up with the army and bring back the remaining soaring Dragon Mountain Range disciples. Yes, Master. Black Bear's spirit didn't hesitate at all and urged the demonic cloud to chase after the army. Master was wrong. Xiao Hua sighed. These Foundation establishment disciples also have the qualifications to enter the Star Moon Palace. But Master, Xiongyi looked at the thousands of Golden Core disciples and said, Disciple only heard that there are very few cultivators who can enter the Star Moon Palace. We have over 10,000 disciples. How can we all enter the Star Moon Palace? It depends on fate. Xiao Hua laughed. If there is no fate, how can Master bring back 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples? Yes, disciple understands. Xiongyi had to explain even if he didn't understand. Go, instruct the disciples that when the Foundation establishment disciples return, Master will bring them into the Kunlun Immortal realm to cultivate. Do not resist. Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and instructed Xiongyi. Xiongyi naturally knew about the Kunlun mirror. Didn't Yuan Ya and the others' cultivation soar after entering the Kunlun mirror? He agreed and hurried off. Fellow Daoists. After Xiao Hua finished instructing, he looked at Zhai Xingzi and the others and said, I have a Kunlun mirror here. There is a world inside that can cultivate. I will bring you all into the Kunlun mirror and bring you all to the Star Moon Palace. Zhai Xingzi and the others naturally knew that once they entered the Kunlun mirror, their lives would be in Xiao Hua's hands. But how could they not trust Xiao Hua? All of them nodded in agreement. Xiao Hua shook the Kunlun mirror and sent them into the Shenhua continent. He then took Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, Yuanya, Little Black, Little Yellow, and the others into the Kunlun mirror. Not long after, the Black Bear spirit returned with several thousand Foundation establishment realm disciples. Xiao Hua took the Fortune Gate disciples, Xiongyi, the Black Bear spirit, and the others into the Kunlun mirror. Only then did he look at the starry sky and land and flew towards the east of the Thousand Demons' sacred territory. The changes in the Thousand Demons' sacred territory were naturally caused by Feng Wu. After bidding farewell to Xiao Hua, Feng Wu flapped her wings and flew towards the Great Holy Hall. The golden-winged Great Rock, Flying Feather Void Beast, and five-colored Sea God Shell followed behind her. The four demonic race great sages displayed their various abilities. In just a short moment, they had already flown tens of thousands of miles away. Seeing that they were gradually leaving Bai Qingyu, Feng Wu's eyes flashed like lightning. She swept her gaze across the land that was still in a mess and sneered in her heart. Wasn't Bai Qingyu, Shrouded Sky Ridge, and Ancient Bell Mountain the same case? Moreover, because of Bai Xian'er's selfish desires, she had triggered the divine punishment and implicated all the Shell race's bloodline in the Thousand Demons' sacred territory. From today onwards, although Bai Xian'er's influence still lingered, the arrogant and despotic Shell race might not be able to recover for a period of time. As for when they would be able to make a comeback, that would depend on the Little White Dragon and Bai Bo's abilities. Thinking about the Little White Dragon, Feng Wu couldn't help but laugh. Regardless of whether it was the human race or the demonic race, they all treated him as Xiao Hua. Whether it was the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's Fortune Gate, the demonic race's Endless Merchant Union, or even Ao Zhantian, Zhai Xingzi, and the others, they all sacrificed a lot in order to rescue the Little White Dragon from Bai Qingyu. Little did they know that the Little White Dragon actually enjoyed the blessings of multiple people. There was no need for anyone to rescue him at all. That Beast King Bai Qing's daughter actually obediently stole him away. However, it was precisely because of the Little White Dragon's disappearance that Xiao Hua and the three demonic race great sages had to make a move. Damn it, the dragon race is really powerful. They're really attractive to ordinary female demonic race members. Feng Wu thought naturally in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly frowned as if he had thought of something. Just as he was about to speak, he saw a streak of golden light above his head. The golden-winged great rock had already flown past him and rushed towards the horizon. Ah! Feng Wu laughed loudly. Does the great rock sage want to compete with this sage? If that's what the great rock sage wants, why don't we compete? The golden-winged great rock's voice came from afar. He laughed and said, "Let's see whose demonic body is stronger and whose flying speed is faster. The limit is 1 day." Behind Feng Wu, the flying feather void beast shouted loudly, "If you go any further, I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up." "All right." Feng Wu agreed. He flapped his wings and lightning crackled around his body. Beams of starlight and moonlight blasted into the great rock sage, and a string of illusory figures appeared out of thin air. Feng Wu chased after the golden-winged great rock at lightning speed. "Hee, the great rock sage is indeed extraordinary." In the sky, the golden-winged great rock laughed loudly and shouted proudly, "However, it won't be easy for you to catch up to this sage." As they spoke, the two demonic race great sages' figures disappeared at an extremely fast speed. The flying feather void beast and the five-colored sea god shell were naturally not slow, but the two saints were slightly inferior to the great rock sage and Feng Wu. Layers of ripples rose rapidly in the air. Within the ripples, the two saints' figures were faintly discernible. Sometimes they were distorted abnormally, sometimes they returned to normal, but most of the time they were broken illusory figures. Similarly, in just a moment, the two saints' figures also disappeared. While flying, the five-colored sea god Shell heard the flying feather void beast's voice. "Shell Sage, what do you think of the seven-star phoenix sage?" "What do I think?" The five-colored sea god Shell's mouth was bitter. While urging his demonic body to continue flying, he replied indifferently, "What can this sage think? This phoenix sage has obtained the recognition of the 7 stars, so his strength must be far beyond ours. Didn't you see his battle with the great rock sage? Even the great rock sage was almost defeated by him. If the great rock sage hadn't materialized his star mark at the critical moment, the position of the strongest demonic race would have changed hands." Speaking of this, the five-colored sea god Seashell looked at the distorted space in the distance with disappointment and said, "Fighting naturally requires strength. It may be a cultivation method, a secret technique, or a monster body. The great rock sage has been a great saint for hundreds of thousands of years, and the time he spent in the great saint realm is only second to the profound Pentaceratops." As for the phoenix sage, not only has she just become a saint, she hasn't even entered the great saint hall yet. How would we know about her opportunities? Also, the great rock sage wants to compete in flying speed with the phoenix sage. I'm afraid he wants to compete in physical strength, right? Shell Sage, this sage's flying speed isn't my strong point. Who do you think is faster? The flying feather void beast didn't hesitate at all, as if it had already guessed. It should be the great rock sage. After all, his true form is the great rock sage, and he's known as the demonic race's #1 flying beast. However, even so, this sage feels that the phoenix sage isn't too far behind. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.